we've had a lot to do with what you've been doing. You're browsing,
Oh, hi. Just came from downstairs where we have our accountants at the Majority Report, and they were telling me what the situation is with YouTube, and we wanted to update you as to why we still need your support on our Patreon page. And that's because some of you are seeing ads in front of our YouTube videos, and it's true. Some of them have come back. As you know, back in March now, I guess, or April, our ad placement was completely wiped out. We had basically 10% of our views were getting ads, whereas it used to be in March, in February, and January, closer to 65 to 75% of our views were getting ads. Well, some of those ads have come back, and it's true of some other channels as well, but not nearly as many as we had before. And on top of that, the type of ads that we're getting have a much lower CPM. So in other words, we're getting less ads on our videos, and the ads we are getting, we're getting less money for. And that's why we're continuing our Patreon account. We don't know if this is the new normal. And frankly, YouTube is not inclined to tell us. We're not the biggest channel. I don't even know if the biggest channels are being told as to what the new normal is, but this appears to be it. So where we got $1 3 months ago, we're now getting about 40 cents. That's better than getting a dime, but we are still needing your support. So you can head over to our Patreon channel, or maybe you're at our Patreon page rather now, but either way, give a couple of bucks a month, and that would really help us continue producing as many videos as we do on a daily basis. And we want to produce more, frankly. We were geared up to do so, and then, well, so now it's not necessarily an ad apocalypse. It's more of like an ad sort of apocalypse. Thanks for your support. Really appreciate it.
By the graveside, so glad, so glad, so glad that you are gone.
I still think them cats are crazy. They were asking if you were around, how you was, where you could be found. Told them you were...
The Majority Report with Sam Seder. It's time to look in the mirror, America. Do you like what you see?
I keep referring to Obama as the magic Negro.
Do you like what you see now?
Well, suck on this.
It's just a mirror, America.
Shared sacrifice by everybody.
What could it do to you except reflect your image?
I did nothing wrong at the Minneapolis airport.
The Majority Report.
Far more credible to me than PBS and Frontline.
The Majority Report with Sam Seder.
Ever get the feeling you've been cheated?
It is Tuesday, September 5th, 2017. My name is Sam Seder. This is the four-time award-winning Majority Report. We are broadcasting live steps from the industrially ravaged Gowanus Canal in the heartland of America, downtown Brooklyn, USA. The era of the Pajama Boys is back. On the program today, moments ago, Attorney General Jeff Sessions announces the intention of the Trump administration to end DACA, the Deferred Action for Childhood Arrivals program, within 6 months. Meanwhile, Trump administration attempting tax reform, a debt ceiling or averting a debt ceiling crash, attempting also to institute a budget and to pay for emergency funding for the devastation of Harvey and perhaps the oncoming devastation of Irma. Meanwhile, this past week, we've been out, and the Mueller investigation has been very busy, essentially moving into playing with the house money, if you will. Google gave a lesson in the powers of monopoly this past week. Arpaio pardoned and Gorka excused. Phase 2. The window to repeal Obamacare is closing, but the plan to destroy it just beginning by this administration. And will we see the P-tape before we see nuclear war on the Korean Peninsula?
Not if I had anything to do with it.
The Menendez trial starts in New Jersey. And all that and more, much more, ladies and gentlemen, on today's program. We are back from our vacation. We are all well rested, as it were. As it were. I mean, we did our best. Yeah, some news happened over the past week. I mean, just even on that Friday night, a week from last Friday, was pretty intense. I mean, what do I somewhere I have my notes here. I have literally 200 pages of notes. But just on that Friday night, on that Friday the 25th, which was the last live day of this show, Gary Cohn was facing a lot of heat. Remember this? He was critical of, I don't know if you can remember, way back when, 2 weeks ago, when the president basically said that Nazis were equivalent to people who were out there counter-protesting against Nazis. And really, when you juxtapose that, I saw some clip, maybe it was from Hayes' Labor Day show yesterday. Someone made the point of, you juxtapose Donald Trump's launching of his campaign, where the Mexicans coming in are rapists and bad people. I'm sure some of them were good, versus most of the people who were there with the Nazis were good. I'm sure some of them were bad. So that was on Friday the 25th. On that same day, a leak from the Mueller investigation, investigating whether or not Michael Flynn was actively seeking emails from Russian hackers, emails of Hillary Clinton's from Russian hackers. You also had Mnuchin, fresh off of his wife's faux pas in both claiming that they were American royalty and also not so correct on whether or not they took a taxpayer-funded jaunt down to, well, look at bars of gold.
She's a feisty one, okay? Yeah.
North Korea launched a missile over Japan. Arpaio was pardoned, and Gorka took a one-way trip in his Mustang, I think, off the grounds of the White House. And Harvey was about to reach landfall, or just had, in Houston. That was all on Friday of a week and a half ago. So a classic. Well, I want to say this past week was insane, but Michael made the point in the office that all of the weeks are insane now. And September, and what we're going to do today is talk, obviously, quite a bit about DACA, but we're also going to set up what we can anticipate going forward in terms of this month, which I think is going to be, well, certainly, I don't know how it can be less crazy, but I'm not sure how it can be more crazy. I guess we'll see. Just a reminder, I want to thank you. We had some in our absence, and I hope you enjoyed the shows that we had pre-recorded. These are great interviews that if you did not catch them, I would recommend you go back and check out. I don't like to pick favorites, but my favorites were the Hammer and Hoe interview with Professor Kelly. And then also, was it Rothstein on the
Color of Law?
Color of Law. That is a stunning, really, it's just stunning truth about the consistency of our official policy in this country to segregate, even through the New Deal. And the implications of that are enormous. And I think if you've been a regular listener of this show, you will find that interview to be really important. So I would check that out on Fridays. And also, I think we did a bonus from Ring of Fire on the myth of drug expiration dates. Also fascinating. And I should tell you, so a lot of folks became members this week. Not a lot, but some. And which is, I'm always surprised when we're not actively asking people to become members. So I appreciate that. It makes this show possible. And I will tell you, in addition to making this show possible when you become a member, it also we also give you bonus content every day. Most days. This week it was some great deep archive shows. We got a couple of kudos in the emails, Matt. And also, I should also remind you, it's commercial free. So if you ever get annoyed with all the commercials that sometimes, and they seem to come in bunches and you don't want them, another reason to become a member. I'll also say this, and then that we'll have no more, we will not speculate until that moment arrives. But there will be an announcement from one person in this office, and there's 4 of us now, right now in this office. Matt, Kelly, Michael, me, who will be talking about their future plans.
I'm opening a baseball card shop and getting away from my family. Hello? Can you all do my show?
Well, like I said, speculation.
I'm going far away.
I
didn't know you could block people on an iPhone.
Is that true? When it comes to snacks, I know that if you're like me, it feels like sometimes the only options are delicious and a billion calories. Incidentally, I got huge over the vacation. I mean, I have got to drop some weight, or I'm not going to be able to wear long pants again unless I go out and buy a whole new wardrobe. Or you get boring and tasteless. It does not have to be that way. You can up your snack game with Nature Box. Nature Box has over 100 snacks that taste good and are made from high-quality, simple ingredients. That means no artificial colors, flavors, or sweeteners. Do you really want to give your kids that type of stuff? Like just a bag full of chemicals? Matt Binder, if you're listening. So you can feel good about what you're eating. They got great ones. Honey Dijon pretzels, vanilla bean wafers. And the good thing about it is it both satisfies my intense craving for sweet food and, frankly, savory, basically for food. But without a tremendous amount of calories. If anybody's seen it, like, there's really nothing you can put in the office that I won't immediately gravitate towards. Plus, they add new snacks inspired by real customer feedback on a regular basis. It's super simple. Just go to naturebox.com, choose the snacks you want. NatureBox will deliver them right to your door. There's no risk. If you ever try a snack you don't like, NatureBox will replace it for free. Right now, you'll save even more. NatureBox is offering our listeners 3 free snacks with your first order when you go to naturebox.com/majority. That's naturebox.com/majority for 3 free snacks with your first order. naturebox.com/majority. Oh, and folks, right before we left for vacation, I was a bit of a hero in my parts because I surprised Nikki with some flowers. Yes.
I did it as a trick to lay the groundwork for the Great Escape.
Exactly. And it was all because ProFlowers made it so easy. It's part of their Great Escape program. That's not true.
But an idea.
But it is an idea. If ProFlowers picks that up, sometimes like I didn't realize he was gone for days because there was so much flowers in my house.
Let me wet my
I could
beak
barely
on
see
that,
him.
ProFlowers.
Now, ProFlowers, they make it easy for you to surprise someone. And they make it even easier with a special offer for you guys. Send ProFlowers colorful rainbow roses and get 20% off this collection or any other of their unique exclusive bouquets of $29 or more. ProFlowers.com makes choosing the perfect surprise bouquet simple and quick. You get to pick the exact date that your unexpected surprise will arrive. So, for instance, if you're trying to coordinate with flights out of the country, whatever it is. Plus, the flowers are guaranteed to stay fresh for at least 7 days or your money back. It's more bloom for your buck. To get 20% off your rainbow roses or any other bouquet of $29 or more, go to proflowers.com. Use my code CEDAR, that's my last name, SEDER, at checkout. That's proflowers.com, code CEDAR. Don't wait to make someone's day. Let's play a clip of. Well, I mean, I guess do we have a clip of? Do we have a clip of Sessions on DACA? All right. Well, let's get that in a minute. I mean, let's just. This is. Let's see. Well, this is a good clip to start with. Here is Bush and Reagan. Back in the 1980 Republican primary, George Herbert Walker Bush ran against Ronald Reagan, not the esteemed caller of this show who has his own podcast. Redirect on immigration law.
And has a better immigration
You said
record.
you weren't going to promote it.
No, I didn't. I'm not promoting it. I'm
I don't know.
mentioning it. I will say this, that tonight at 8 p.m. Eastern.
Oh, now that's cold.
In competition. And he's really throwing down the gauntlet
He
here.
really is. That is so cold.
TMBS, the Michael Brooks Show, goes live at 7 p.m. Eastern on our YouTube channel and on our audio feed. And apparently, Ronald Reagan is throwing down gauntlet saying it should only be an hour long because at 8 p.m. Eastern, he's going to be doing a Facebook Live Ask Him Anything to discuss DACA and immigration. All right.
Can always listen to Michael's show at any time you like.
That's also true.
That is right.
And that's true. That's true. So you watch it twice. Listen to it twice.
You could listen to it like all day, every day.
That's true. All right. So here is a debate between George Herbert Walker Bush, who ran against Ronald Reagan in the 1980 Republican primary. Ultimately, Reagan chose George Herbert Walker Bush as his vice president. Reagan served for 2 terms, if you'll recall. Then George Herbert Walker Bush won in 1988 against Michael Dukakis, served for 1 term, and then was defeated by Bill Clinton. But just to give you a sense, we're talking about now 37 years ago, approximately, probably very close to the date, maybe a little bit earlier. Reagan and Bush debated over immigration policies. And just listen to the tone and the substance of this debate on immigration between 2 Republican candidates for the presidency in 1980.
Aliens should be allowed to attend Texas public schools free, or do you think that their parents should pay for their education?
Who are you addressing?
All right, pause it for 1 second. Now, I should just say the question was, because it got a little bit clipped, do you think that undocumented immigrants should be able to go to public schools in Texas? And here is George Herbert Walker Bush.
Who are you addressing that to?
I think you're first in this.
He was looking right at you. I said he was. Look, I'd like to see something done about the illegal alien problem that would be so sensitive and so understanding about labor needs and human needs that problem wouldn't come up. But today, if those people are here, I would reluctantly say I think they would get whatever it is that they're, what the society is giving to their neighbors. But the problem has to be solved. The problem has to be solved because as we have kind of made illegal some kinds of labor that I'd like to see legal, we're doing 2 things. We're creating a whole society of really honorable, decent, family-loving people that are in violation of the law, and secondly, we're exacerbating relations with Mexico. The answer to your question is much more fundamental than whether they attend Houston schools, it seems to me. I don't want to see if they're living here, I don't want to see a whole thing of 6- and 8-year-old kids being made, one totally uneducated and made to feel that they're living with outside the law. Let's address ourselves to the fundamentals. These are good people, strong people. Part of my family is a Mexican.
Can I add to that? I think the time has come that the United States and our neighbors, particularly our neighbor to the south, should have a better understanding and a better relationship than we've ever had. And I think that we haven't been sensitive enough to our size and our power. They have a problem of 40 to 50% unemployment. Now, this cannot continue without the possibility arising with regard to that other country that we talked about, of Cuba and what it is stirring up, of the possibility of trouble below the border, and we could have a very hostile and strange neighbor on our border. Rather than making them or talking about putting up a fence, why don't we work out some recognition of our mutual problems, make it possible for them to come here legally with a work permit, and then while they're working and earning here, they pay taxes here. And when they want to go back, they can go back, and they can cross and open the border.
And open the border to them, said Ronald Reagan. Now, you just contemplate. Now, I'm not saying those are there's some problems with what they're suggesting there. The idea of creating a second-class citizenry, the sort of worker permits, I think, are somewhat problematic to a certain extent. But nevertheless, it's unbelievable. Unbelievable where we are today in terms of the Republican Party when it comes to immigration, based upon where the 2 leading candidates in the Republican primary back in 1980 were, one of whom was considered the most conservative president that we had in modern times. And remind you that Reagan, as president, basically gave amnesty to 3 to 5 million, I think it was, undocumented immigrants at that time. It was NAFTA that then became problematic and drove a lot of Mexican farmers north. So that's just to set the table as to where we are today as we go into this discussion of DACA, which is one of the most shockingly cruel policies that I think we're going to see, that we can see, that is so publicly open, right? Obviously, we do a lot of horrific things as a country. I don't know how to quantify that, a lot, but certainly a number around the world, but we don't quite see it as clearly as we're going to see the implications of this. Before we get to Jeff Sessions' announcement today, if you've inherited an old coin collection or you simply have an accumulation of coins or currency, you're not sure what to do with it, Littleton Coin is here to help. For over 70 years, Littleton Coin has been helping people just like you sell their coins and currency. As an industry leader in collectible coins and currency, Littleton can pay you more. It's time, folks. You can't sit around with that huge box or even those penny collections that you got in the little books like I have.
I told my dad about this, and he's so excited. He has,
oh, really?
Yeah, because he has the penny collections too. I guess he used to go to the bank and with the special, and they would trade in, and him and his brother, and then look for all the special pennies.
Wow!
And collect them. So he's excited.
Well, my plan is empty out the little books I have, then give Saul the books, and tell him you started your own. As an industry leader in collectible coins and currency, Littleton can pay you more, but more importantly, in my mind anyways, the company's president, David Sunderman, received the ANA, that's the American Numismatic Association, Dealer of the Year Award. Littleton Coin was honored with the Better Business Bureau Torch Award for Marketplace Ethics. So you know these are people you can trust and rely on. And whether you're an experienced collector or someone who needs help identifying what you have in your collection, Littleton Coin Company is the place to sell your U.S. coins and currency. The process, it's incredibly simple. Visit littletoncoin.com. That's little and then toncoin.com/majority to learn more. Or give them a call, toll free, 877-857-7850. Tell them you heard about it on the Majority Report. All right, let's hear from Jeff Sessions. This is a clip of his announcement today that the Trump administration will be arguing, or I should say, rolling back DACA. This is the Deferred Action on Childhood Arrivals. In other words, children who came to this country because their parents brought them along, right? Maybe they were 3, maybe they were an infant, maybe they were 10, maybe they were 12, maybe they were 15. Children who came to this country and who have been in this country. And the percentages on what these children have been doing, 95% of DACA recipients under the Obama administration, if you qualified, you would go to immigration officials, you would give them your info, you would give them proof of what you've been doing. There are 800,000 people. Under this program, you are allowed to live and work lawfully in the United States. But you have to check in. Does not provide a path to citizenship. And you have to check in repeatedly. Or regularly, I should say. 95% of DACA recipients are working or in school. 48% got a better job with or a job with better working conditions after they became DACA compliant. 63% got a better paying job. 90% got a driver's license or state ID. 54% bought their first car. 12% bought their first home. And these are people who haven't been to their countries of their origin in some instances, 5, 10, 15, 20 years. They are American. Many don't speak Spanish. So sending them back to a Spanish-speaking country would be basically like, well, not killing them, but I think in some instances, getting sent to some, particularly like Honduras or whatnot. I'm not sure of, but it is just look at your own kid and imagine if you were just to drop them in some town in Mexico that is completely random to them. So DACA was created, the program, by the Obama administration, basically by saying, as a matter of prosecutorial discretion, we are not going to go after children or people who came to this country as a child by no decision of their own and are not committing any crimes in this country. And we're going to give them a work visa. And that became known as DACA. There was an attempt to get bills passed. Republicans would not pass a DREAM Act, which would have ensconced this in statutory, would have been law in this country, as opposed to a essentially regulatory discretion. It's an administrative policy. Very similar to administrative policies like, we will not go into states and arrest people who are smoking pot when it's legal in the states, even though federal law says you cannot smoke marijuana. Or we will not track down every senior citizen who has purchased drugs from Canada in violation of federal law. Why don't we do that? Because we have limited resources. All right, so here is Jeff Sessions. We're going to put aside the morality for a moment of this. We're going to put aside the economics of this. Let's just hear Jeff Sessions justify why they are reversing this policy.
I'm here today to announce that the program known as DACA that was effectuated under the Obama administration is being rescinded. The DACA program was implemented in 2012 and essentially provided a legal status for recipients for a renewable 2-year term, work authorization, and other benefits, including participation in the Social Security program to 800,000 mostly adult illegal aliens. The policy was implemented unilaterally to great controversy and legal concern after Congress rejected legislative proposals to extend similar benefits on numerous occasions to this same group of illegal aliens. In other words, the executive branch, through DACA, deliberately sought to achieve what the legislative branch specifically refused to authorize on multiple occasions. Such an open-ended circumvention of immigration laws was an unconstitutional exercise of authority by the executive branch.
Pause it for 1 second. First off, as a matter of law, that is incorrect. First of all, Jeff Sessions, that has not been ruled unconstitutional. Jeff Sessions is not capable of making that assessment unilaterally. You need a court to make that determination. But the Supreme Court has ruled quite often that just because you have a dispute and you have executive authority that is legitimate but may run contrary or not even necessarily contrary. It's not necessarily, there's no problem with statute here, direct statute. But just because you have this type of relationship between Congress and the president does not make it unconstitutional on its face. But we will continue.
Branch. The effect of this unilateral executive amnesty, among other things, contributed to a surge of minors at the southern border that yielded terrible humanitarian consequences.
Pause it.
It also did.
That's not what contributed to the surge of minors. What contributed to the surge of minors was Honduras becoming the most dangerous place in the world to live. Period. The murder capital of the world. Continue. That's that it? So the lies that they're having to put out here, because here's the bottom line. And we should say, in terms of the authority, it is clear that the government, the executive branch, has the authority to create policies around discretion in terms of where resources are spent, right? I mean, it's quite obvious. You look at it in terms of whether or not the federal government is going to go after people who are smoking pot in states that make it legal, or even people smoking pot in states that make it illegal. If the federal government wanted to nail pot smokers, they could send out teams of people into college dormitories all around the country, and they'd be busy 24/7. They don't do that. And there's a policy that we don't do that. And then the authority to give working permits is based on a 1986 law that specifically permits employment of aliens who are authorized to be employed by the Attorney General. So now, the Trump administration certainly can reverse this policy. They are well within their rights to do so. But to claim they're doing it because of the law is a lie. To claim that they're doing it because this policy brought a surge 3 years ago of kids from countries where the danger of them being killed was so extreme is just a lie. This is, and the 6 month waiting for Congress to do this is basically just their way of showing cowardice. We're going to pretend this is not on us. We're going to pretend that we're obligated by the law. Now, there's a lawsuit that has been filed by about 10 states, conservative states, with conservative race-mongering attorney generals that are trying to sue the Trump administration or have threatened to sue the Trump administration if they don't reverse this policy. But if you really want to know the answer to the question, is this constitutional, let that lawsuit go forward. Defend the administration's right to do this. But they won't do it. So as a matter of law, their argument is BS. As a matter of consequence, their argument is BS. As a matter of keeping us safe, their argument is BS. As a matter of economics, their argument is BS. Here is Ali Velshi on MSNBC. And again, Trump administration certainly can reverse this DACA policy. They're well within their rights. It's cruel. It's inhumane. It's absurd. It's a waste. It's not founded on any legal principles, but they can do it. But to make any of those justifications is a lie, and the economics of it is also a lie. Here is Ali Velshi basically pulling apart that lie.
Secondly, Google, Facebook, and Apple wanting cheap labor. Average salary at Google is $121,000. At Apple, it's $87,000. And Facebook, it's $138,000 before bonuses. This isn't about cheap labor. Issue number 3, United States has a negative worker replacement rate, which means we have to have immigrants. Now, if you're looking at your basket of undocumented immigrants and you're focused, as Donald Trump says he is, on those who are the worst and the criminals and the gangs and the thugs and the bad hombres, this is the opposite side of that equation. Their average age 26, some as old as 36, came in at the age of 6, all speak English, 45% in school, most of them working. And if they commit a crime, we get to track them because of this visa, and they get thrown out of the country. There is possibly no better group of undocumented immigrants that you actually want in the country. So, Kerry, you and I speak the same language from the perspective of economics and GDP growth, which you talked about, and increasing GDP growth. We need more workers. We need them to be productive. And one final thing. Let's say I'm a DACA person. I'm 26 years old. I'm making money legally above the table. This is for me. This is for the government. This is for me. This is for the government. This is probably for the government. So all that deficit and GDP growth and jobs, this part goes to the government. This part I spend to make companies hire people. I'm good for the economy any way you slice this. Ending DACA doesn't make sense. And to your final point on the legality of DACA, let Congress do it, and then make it completely legal. We can solve this problem. Throwing these 800,000 people out is not the solution. I have to put my money back in my wallet now.
I mean, there you have it. I mean, from an economic perspective, as if you need to justify it that way, there's no doubt that having these people in our country is anything but a bonus for our economy. And did he mention there that we're running out of workers too? These folks are going to be paying our Social Security.
And remember the real drive of this policy is Steve King, which is you can't save your culture with somebody else's babies. And that's the honest description of this policy.
Course. And that's what, and if there was going to be any honesty about this policy, instead of it just being dog whistled to the Steve Kings, that's what it would be. Jeff Sessions would have been up there and said, we need to make our country white again. And this is an easy, low-hanging way to do it. And I know my fine ICE officials were going to enjoy going and visiting these people at their place of work or their schools. And they're going to feel much more comfortable. They're not going to have to use their Spanish and or any other language, and they're just going to be able to arrest them and deport them in English.
That's you boys don't be bashful now, boys. Get yourself to work.
And so now the question is, will the Republicans in Congress, will they pass a version of the DREAM Act? In the House, I think it's 3591. In the Senate, it's 1615. And the pressure is going to be on them because the buck stops with the president. It's just unbelievable. I mean, it's just so disgusting. And these stories, there was a story, and many of you probably may have heard of this already. I don't know. In the Houston Chronicle. I mean, this is without even talking about, you can talk about the legality of it. You can talk about the economics of it. And I wouldn't even call it the morality. I mean, it's just about being maybe it is morality. I don't know. But the idea of being completely unnecessarily cruel, and it's sadistic is what it is. It's sadistic. Here's a story of Alonzo Guillen. He was a 31-year-old disc jockey from Lufkin. I guess that's a town in Texas. And he disappeared last Wednesday around midnight. This was after he was out with two friends on their boat trying to rescue people. Their boat hit a bridge over a creek and capsized. One of them was rescued after clinging to a tree in the rushing water, but days later, Guillen and his friend Thomas Carrion were still missing. Ultimately, their bodies were found by this past weekend. Guillen's father, Jesus Guillen, said he'd asked his son not to try to rescue people in the storm, but his son insisted, saying he wanted to help people. Guillen's father is was born in Piedras Negras, Mexico. He brought his son to Lufkin as when his son was a teenager. He was a recipient, this is Alonzo Guillen, was a recipient of DACA, the Deferred Action for Childhood Arrivals program. His father is a lawful permanent resident. But a lot of times what happens when these kids are brought in here, the paperwork is not filed or it gets punted, it gets punted, it gets punted, it gets punted. The kids don't know. The parents don't want the kids to feel like they're different. So Alonzo Guillen was a DACA Childhood Arrival Program member. His mother was still in the application process for legal status. They will not let his mother in to the country to go to the funeral in Houston. She was turned back at the border. She is 62 years old and will not be there for the burial of her son. This stuff is just sadistic. And all of those 800,000 people who registered with the federal government for the DACA program, who are in school, who are working, who are buying homes, starting families, they are now just sitting and wondering, will I be sent to a country that I know nothing about? That is completely foreign to me. It's nothing more than just sadism. I mean, I guess it's also racism, but it is sadistic. And the Republican Party brought us this in the form of Donald Trump. And they better respond to it. It's really just horrible. Just horrible. And hopefully we'll hear from Ronald Reagan in the fun half about this. Meanwhile, catching up on the week, maybe we should go back to his pardoning of Sheriff Joe Arpaio. Maybe, and I guess this is an argument, but he may be the most famous racist that we have in the country. Is it possible? maybe just this week. I mean, aside from the president himself.
There is a reigning champion.
I'm just saying that Arpaio as a, it's not like, I mean, at least Trump is also president, right? That's why we know Trump's name. But
Arpaio just has the longest list of demonstrable racism and horrific
he's actually done stuff.
Racist acts.
Like real
stuff.
Let me put it this way. One of the most famous non-elected at the moment racists in the country. I think that's a safe way of doing it. Right? Like national fame. I mean, I'm sure like if you lived in like North Carolina, you'd have a long list of people that you're
Wait till
aware
he
of.
challenges Jeff Flake.
Right, exactly. Here is Donald Trump last week. And now remember, I mean, contemplate this, okay? Now, over the past 10 days, Donald Trump refuses to come out and announce his own reversal of Obama's policy on DACA, right? Sends Sessions out there to do it. And of course, Jeff Sessions, this is the way I'm going to make sure I stay in the administration by proving that I can be the one to handle all the darky policies. And then Trump, also in another sign of abject weakness and cowardice, pardons Arpaio Friday night, right? What did he do it about like 8 p.m.? And this is Trump defending the timing of the decision on Monday, I guess it was. Here he is with the question from, is this Roberts? Is that it? John Roberts, okay.
In the middle of Hurricane Harvey hitting on Friday night, you chose to pardon former Sheriff Joe Arpaio. I wonder if you could tell us what was behind your thinking for issuing a pardon for the sheriff, and as well, what do you say to your critics, even some in your own party, who say it was the wrong thing to do?
Well, a lot of people think it was the right thing to do, John. And actually, in the middle of a hurricane, even though it was a Friday evening, I assumed the ratings would be far higher than they would be normally. You know, the hurricane was just starting. And I put it out that I had pardoned, as we say, Sheriff Joe. He's done a great job for the people of Arizona. He's very strong on borders, very strong on illegal immigration. He is loved in Arizona. Sheriff Joe is a patriot. Sheriff Joe loves our country. Sheriff Joe protected our borders. And Sheriff Joe was very unfairly treated by the Obama administration, especially right before an election that he would have won. And he was elected many times. So I stand by my pardon of Sheriff Joe, and I think the people of Arizona who really know him best would agree with me. Thank you very much.
That's my statement. So Sheriff Joe was guilty of contempt of court for violating a federal judge's order to stop being so blatantly racist and with his abject treatment of prisoners, including immigrants and other detainees. He had these outdoor tent cities in the Arizona desert heat. He routinely disparaged Latinos, calling them things like wetbacks, Mexican bitches, effing Mexicans, and stupid Mexicans. He would publicly humiliate prisoners. He would handcuff and detain children and pregnant women on his immigration raids. He sent his taxpayer-paid deputies to Hawaii to secure President Obama's birth certificate. Like I say, he was my partner. He made me. In many ways, he made me.
In a certain sense. I mean, I made myself.
He made the prisoners wear pink underpants for some reason.
Yep. It was a racial profiling case where he was violating a judge's order. According to the Phoenix New Times, they listed some of the stories that they had in covering Arpaio for more than 20 years. Among the 20-some-odd stories, some of the 20-some-odd stories that she listed over those 20 years, he ran a jail that he described as a concentration camp. Prisoners died at an alarming rate, often without explanation. One of his jailers nearly broke the neck of a paraplegic guy who had the temerity to ask for a catheter. He marched Latino prisoners into a segregated area with electric fencing as a publicity stunt. He invited visitors to its website to vote for the mugshot of the day, to mock the photos of Latino detainees. Under Arpaio, the department failed to investigate hundreds of sex abuse cases, many which involved children. According to reporter Ray Stern, in February 2012, rapists and child molesters got away with their crimes. There was the story of Ambrit Spencer, one of nearly 1,600 pregnant women who went through Arpaio's jails. She was 9 months pregnant, had internal bleeding. Jail officials ignored it. Her baby died. They waited nearly 4 hours to get her to the delivery room. Her baby died from blood loss. Just insane. The Arpaio jail, guards tried to prevent her from seeing the baby before they buried it. So that's the guy that Donald Trump calls his partner and pardoned in the middle of when he thought there would be a lot of ratings.
Arpaio arrested some of those reporters from the publication that you just named, and they sued and won.
Almost $9 million, I think. Yeah, crazy.
From the police department, not from Arpaio, I'm assuming. That
right, of course.
Correct, yes, of course.
So then Harvey hits, and we've got a lot of stories about Harvey. Many of that you may have heard, ranging from, obviously, over 50 dead at this point, maybe more. Still many missing. But just amongst, the Harvey stories, and we can't get to all of them, obviously, and who knows what we'll be talking about in a couple of days with Irma. But the important things to keep in mind about Houston, in the broadest sense, obviously, government cannot prevent the weather. Governments, largely speaking, can help mitigate the climate crisis that statistically will increase the chances of having once in 100-year storms that we now have far more frequently. Government can also begin to address climate change by looking at the sustainability of certain cities, of how they're built and where they're located. Houston officials were told that they had a problem with floods. There was a ProPublica piece in 2016, I think it was. And when the Harris County Flood Control District chief was presented with sweeping evidence that Houston was a sitting duck for the next big hurricane, He dismissed the report, saying scientists have an agenda, and their agenda is to protect the environment overrides common sense. It would be funny were it not for all the dead people and the incredible amount of destruction. And understand that this is going to be one of those rolling disasters, because you've already seen the release of 1 million pounds of extra air pollutants that supersede government levels for safety. This is from oil refineries, from that Arkema chemical plant in Crosby, Texas. But you got shale drilling sites. Chemicals released this week, in the week after Harvey, that made landfall, according to the Washington Post, including benzene, 1.3 butadiene, hexane, hydrogen sulfide, sulfur dioxide, toluene, xylene. All 7 chemicals are toxic air pollutants documented to harm human health. Several cause cancer. Other emissions would bring to total more than 5 million pounds. This is according to the Center for Biological Diversity. You have multiple Superfund sites that the EPA says, well, we can't get to, but the 2 that we got to were fine. Well, the AP went to 7. Somehow they got there. These Superfund sites are now fully flooded. You've got reports. Well, not reports. I mean, David Sirota did a piece, and Alex Koch over at the International Business Times. The French company that says its Houston area chemical plant is spewing noxious smoke and may explode successfully pressed federal regulators to delay new regulations designed to improve safety of procedures at chemical plants. This is according to federal records they reviewed. The rules were set to go in effect this year. They were halted by the Trump administration after a lobbying campaign by Arkema, the American Chemistry Council as well. The effort to stop the chemical plant safety rules was backed by top Texas Republican lawmakers. That facility housed large amounts of toxic sulfur dioxide and flammable methylpropane. That required Arkema to submit a risk management plan to the EPA, and that would have subjected the company to strengthened safety rules. But those rules, which would have taken effect in March of this year, 6 months ago, were blocked by Scott Pruitt, the current EPA chief. Before Harvey, Houston sought funding to mitigate floods, but Congress refused. They had a tax day flood in April. 16 people died. So Representative Al Green introduced a bill to fund $311 million for the Harris County Flood Control District. The Republicans in Congress killed that. There was a law change that took place just a couple of days ago, making it harder to file a lawsuit against insurance companies who are slow or refusing to pay claims for floods. And incidentally, speaking of insurance, flooding insurance, we need a reauthorization of the National Flood Insurance Program this month, in addition with the Child Health Initiative program and the FAA. Good luck with that. Republican governance In the fun half, I will talk about that story. We got it. Another like a rash of stories of like, they're such a proud people in Texas. They don't like to take federal money. However, in this situation, it's different. Here is Donald Trump. When was this? What was this? Just 2 days ago. 3 days ago. Talking about all the heavy lifting he's been doing in Houston. And he's really impressed with what he's seen. There's some bad, but the good part is, look what it's done for me, just personally.
It's been really nice. It's been a wonderful thing. It's as tough as this was. It's been a wonderful thing. I think even for the country to watch and for the world to watch, it's been beautiful.
Yeah, I mean, it's been really difficult for the people who've gone through it, but for me, I think it's been good. Overall, I would say great. Actually, great.
Tough stuff.
Not just great. First of all, great because I mean, look, it makes me feel good about me. I feel good about me.
The president goes to the disaster zone and he sees all of these sad little people scurrying around trying to get away from the water. And he goes, hey, here's a fucking food bucket. They go, thank you, Mr. Trump. And he feels great. So in a certain sense, it's working.
What I would say
Phase
is
2.
this. There's times where you're sitting in that White House, you're feeling bad for yourself.
That's right.
And you come out, you look at this, and it actually, I think it's been very healthy for me. Very healthy.
So in a certain sense, there should be more hurricanes. So why would you fund disaster relief if the president feels better with more human suffering in a certain way?
I don't want to do too much traveling, but I definitely feel like I need to do this at least every 6 months to appreciate what I have. That's what I'm saying. That's all I'm saying.
That's all we're trying to tell General
And look
Kelly.
at the coat. Look at the coat.
It's a great coat.
Cool coat.
It's a great coat.
Cool coat.
In a certain sense.
Goes with the hat. Do you know how many USA hats we have sold? I mean, through the roof.
Oh, my
through
God.
the roof. Honestly,
Jesus
like,
Christ.
you know, I get emails.
What the hell?
I get emails. Somebody, I should say this is actually pretty funny. Somebody signed me up on our majorityreporters@gmail.com account for DonaldJTrump.com. And incidentally,
what do you mean someone signed you up?
I didn't sign up for it to get emails from them.
Who did it then?
Well,
a secret.
I know that it had to be a fan of the show because he signed up as the name Cuck.
I
so
see.
they always
I
come
see.
in Cuck, comma. We wanted to reach out before the sale ends. There's a official Trump gear for 25% off Labor Day sale. Use the coupon code Labor Day. I mean, they're marketing off of this shit.
I know, and
It's
that's
just-
what everyone's saying. But I would just like to float the theory that Donald Trump has to wear a hat in unknown wind situations, and so there is no choice about the
He
hat
could wear
wearing.
a Navy hat. He could wear a FEMA hat. He could wear like a million things that aren't. I mean, you're right.
Okay.
I
But
mean,
they
right,
doesn't
but,
contradict
like-
selling
You're
his
both
product.
You're
yeah,
both
I think-
right.
right, exactly.
It's called
Exactly.
It's a
making
It's called synergy.
lemonade.
It's a twofer.
From lemons.
It's called
It's a twofer.
making scamming these morons again. These people that voted for me are so stupid. It's the Saul Rosenberg thing. And then I can wear the hat and that way more money. Do you see?
This is actually going to work out great.
It's going to work out great.
It's a good thing I have this problem in my head.
Harvey is actually good for GDP, but specifically my GDP in a certain sense.
Folks, we're going to head into the fun half. The number is 646-257-3920. It is your support that makes this show possible. By becoming a member, you make us be possible. Oh, before we go, we have an announcement. Thank you. What was it? Did Matt say have what was it?
We both said you had very good alliteration there.
That's not alliteration, is it?
No.
No, I
it's
don't know
not
what they're
alliteration.
talking
Rhyming.
My mistake. Well, it's sort of, I guess it's rhyming.
I just
Rick
rhymed.
Ross
Rhyming,
sense.
guys.
You rhymed yourself.
I rhymed the same
Alliteration
word.
is when you
That's all
start
right.
with the same letter.
Now, ladies and gentlemen, we're not going to get
Fuck
the
you
ability.
forever.
We're not going to have the ability, going forward, I mean, actually, after this Friday, we will not have the ability to have such grammatical corrections. Kelly has an announcement to make. Hold on.
I'm not sure it warrants a drum roll.
Well, it's actually the start of Liberales. Okay.
Yeah, I am. Sadly, I'm very sad, almost crying, but leaving the show. And
Mom! Mom! Why did you do that to me?
Very mature, Sam.
And
wait, so tell us what's happening.
I actually kind of like that for this. I am going to. I took a position as an associate editor at TYT Politics. So
big-footed.
So they've hired a managing editor who is.
I wouldn't give too much information. Is this all public?
What's his address?
Oh yeah.
Oh okay.
Sure.
What's his?
No,
I wish I could do a jank impression right now and say that of course you got schlogged.
No, I'm just saying.
Poaching your talent.
Because
they're building up one of their verticals.
They're building it up. That's why I was going to say they've hired a managing editor who is seems brilliant, and I am excited to. Oh, Sam's
Sam's
making that face. Sam's making that face because he knows him, and
well, but that's not just that. I mean, I'm sure he's brilliant, but I don't understand. That's why you're going.
There'll be a certain level of professionalism and brilliance at the top that was maybe lacking in your previous position.
Just true
Do you understand what I'm saying,
True
Samantha?
to yourselves to the end. Let me just say what I'm saying.
You want to work for brilliant people. I get it.
You're brilliant, of course.
Yes, of course, Samantha. Very brilliant.
The reason that I'm saying any of this is because
they're not denses.
Is because, of course, our audience, who is a lot of them are very loyal to.
Wait, now you're going to try and poach our audience?
No, who's very loyal to the Majority Report and is going to bash me for going to TYT.
No, it's just because
I'm just saying they're going to build up the TYT politics, and I'm excited because it seems like I'm going to be working under someone.
TYT politics, boo.
Well, they can actually pay.
TYT
I mean, they can
politics,
actually
boo.
pay.
No, I'm just
they can pay.
Right.
In a,
Give me that
in
boo
a,
video.
That's not the problem.
There will be a paycheck.
There's no problem.
And
I mean,
also
it's just...
maybe a leadership with a certain intelligence. If you know what I'm saying, Samantha. I think
That's
Kelly
all right.
would
I
like to
understand.
work under someone that she thinks has a certain caliber of intellect.
No,
a
I
certain
no, I mean- No, I understand.
professionalism
That's fine.
that is lacking in your operation.
I'm just saying it because I know everyone's going to bash TYT.
What? No, they're
on
not.
my Twitter. On my
What are you
Twitter.
talking about? Of course not.
Well, they
I remember
love you.
when Dorsey left the show, old Dorsey.
Old
He went to-
Dorsey. Oh my
he
God.
went to,
I'm telling him you said that. He's going to cry and lock
Well, no,
himself in
as
his
opposed
room.
to new Dorsey, who is now referred to as Old Matt because of new Matt. But originally, new Matt Old Matt was referred to as Norsey for
I
the
know,
new Dorsey.
I know.
I mean, it's just there's an evolution here. But he went on to BuzzFeed. It was,
I
it
know.
happens.
He went on to BuzzFeed when BuzzFeed was
like king.
No.
I mean, not king. Prince.
No, they
Duke.
were. He was very early.
He was super early.
He was,
of course,
excellent stock options early.
Oh,
yeah.
Oh, well,
definitely.
Certain caliber of leadership.
He wanted also, right, of course.
Anyway, I am incredibly sad to leave the show. There's so many reasons why, and I mean, I will be.
Seems like only yesterday that we just started here.
I know, Matt. I'm gonna miss you guys, and I really will. And I'm still gonna be. I'm gonna be on this Friday, and I'm still gonna be running the YouTube channel for a while, and I will become a listener just like everybody else.
Wow. That's sad.
Wow, sad.
So Friday, all right.
I love the Majority
Report. Is there going to be a
Report.
good? Hopefully, there's a good. We should try to get
cake.
Judy Gold and cake for Friday.
We'll see
if possible.
They have.
it's
first of all, we're not going to have any cake. I'm not going to eat. I'm on a diet.
Yeah, of course not. Right.
But maybe we'll have a crudité.
Great leadership, Samantha.
I love Judy Gold, and it's probably a tie, but I requested someone.
She requested somebody. I'm going to go out to that
Who
guy. Right? We'll see right now.
Yeah, who I hope. Just because, they've got two different things going on, but equally funny to me. I think that I like.
All right. Well, there it is. We will have time to ruminate on this, and we'll have like maybe an AC AMA of our own on Friday, Kelly.
What?
AKA.
AMA.
Ask Kelly anything.
Oh, I see what you're saying. Right.
That I told you on the phone yesterday. I don't want a whole thing on Friday, even with the IMs.
It won't be a whole
That's
thing.
a whole thing. I don't want a thing.
I don't think a whole thing.
Why you go Young Turks? They suck.
Ah, sorry. Why don't you go talk to your genius new boss?
Why you go?
By the way, everybody, Sam's known about this. I didn't just it wasn't a slap in the face. He's known about it for the
15
whole
minutes
time.
before today's show.
How does it feel to get screwed,
5
Samantha?
minutes after any step of it happened.
If people could please
Because I bother
reference
him
people
with
that are about to get hired by
everything
Hayes
in my
just
life.
to screw Samantha over again, I would appreciate that.
We did get
I remember
Bigfooted
that was
an
great.
intern. We had
I remember
a
that.
tremendous intern. I remember
She
was lined up, and
not
you
only
were
was she
saying
she reached out directly to me and was like, and I just remember because I talked to a couple of interns and Kelly's, we haven't had they're all Noah was amazing too.
Yep.
So we've had good interns. So all of the interns that I spoke to were really good, but I just remember getting on the phone with her and just being like, yes, she was exceptionally on point. And I said, hey, can you give me a bullet points of a couple of ideas for our social media? And she wrote a social media calendar and plan. And I was like, oh,
Wait, where is that?
It was used. This was used. It was a while ago. But by old Matt and I.
Old Matt and you both got together and did it? Or was it old Matt?
Goodbye. Fuck you forever. Goodbye. Thank you.
Be real. Come on.
Thank you. Goodbye.
Well, the
Goodbye.
long story short,
Long story short.
she
Anyway,
called
she
us
got
and she's like, Chris Hayes' program offered me. And she went on, and I went in one time and I'm like, oh, she's like, hi, I was going to be an intern.
Oh my God. What was the position that she got hired
she
for?
just intern, summer intern.
I see.
But
Hey, maybe
incidentally, she's out there. I don't know if she's looking for work. I don't know if she graduated by now.
Hayes got in Sam's face and he went, you got schlonged.
Yeah,
which
no, he
is
just
kind of
went up.
surprising.
Hayes and I got
Maybe
into
I
fisticuffs
will
over that.
go. Can I get in your seat and be on camera for 5 minutes or something on Friday?
During the AKA? That would be the logical time to do it. What are you going to do for 5 minutes? Just stare into the... Just stare?
I don't know. You could tell me jokes, then I laugh at them. Yes, the AKA. But it literally isn't ask me anything because I know you guys.
All right.
Can I do that?
Yeah, I would
We'll
really
see.
hold the whole ask anything in check.
We'll see.
I would ask anything within tight parameters.
If I get to
with
read
these
it,
fucking
then
people.
it's ask what I would like to answer program.
Well, we'll see about that, too. All right, folks, we're going to take a quick break.
Do we want to, in honor of Gorka quitting as well, do we want to play the DJ Danarchy Gorka
please.
Remix song? I have it queued up.
On
if
the
you
way
want
out?
it. Yeah, instead of
Yes.
Upper
Okay, we'll
Pay.
do that. We're going to head into the fun half. 646-257-3920 is the number. We'll take your IMs. Don't forget, you can support this program by buying your coffee from justcoffee.coop. Fair trade coffee, tea, or chocolate. Use the coupon code MAJORITY. Get 10% off. And if you buy your crap from Amazon or jet.com, do so through our link at majorityreportkickback.com. Quick break, then we will be back with the fun half.
You are in for it.
All right, folks, 646-257-3920. See you in the fun half.
Are you ready?
Who sent us this?
Danarchy.
The alpha males are back, back, boys back, and the alpha males are back.
Just as delicious as you could imagine.
The alpha males are back, boys back, and the alpha males are back.
Just wanna degrade the white man.
Alpha males are back.
I take all of it in my throat.
Alpha males are back.
Almost says what?
The alpha males are back.
You are a madman.
Alpha males are back.
I am a total cunt.
Oh boy, oh boy. Wait, say that again.
I was talking. That could be played at a club. That's like a legit track.
Oh yeah, I feel like it needs to be. There has to be like an extended club mix.
Oh, for real.
When the beat drops on that, it is just heavy.
No, it's serious. Like it's actual footwork too. Like that's real. That's a real beat.
I gotta play that for my. You know, do we have a Spotify list on? We should link to it because people can listen to the show on Spotify, the free show, which of course I should have said in the free half of the show, but we should create a Spotify playlist associated with the Majority Report.
I keep a semi-official one that some people are subscribed to, but that seems like a good idea. It'd be easy to port it all over.
Let's do that.
Matt likes to make tons of content and then not distribute it. Matt has a
most of my
podcast
career
and
doing that. I have like a 6-month-long thing on that Nigerian 419 scams that I just basically sit on my. Yeah, no, it's
actually extraordinary. The extent to you're almost like a weird art collector who wants to steal pieces that you only see for yourself, except in your case, it's your own work.
That's right.
It's very bizarre.
It's great. It's great. And I
want to make a whole movie, and I want Benjamin, and I want everyone in it, and then I want no one to see it except for a handful of podcast
There's a lot of people
listeners on
who
my
are willing to put
DVDs.
their work out there for just anybody. And I just believe my work is just of a caliber that I want an exclusive group of people to enjoy it, period. It's always been my perspective. Let's go to the phones. You're calling from a 210. Wow. 210. Who's this? 210. Hello.
Oh my God, what was the position that she got?
Wow, that is weird. Somebody listening from a long time ago.
Yeah, like 5 minutes.
Oh, it's weird. Super weird. Let's go give that person a chance to catch up. Here is Gorka. So, look, I don't know. It is so impossible to know what's going on at the White House. There are conflicting reports. Was Seb Gorka fired? Did he resign? Why did he resign? If he resigned, why was he fired? If he was, but what's interesting is, and I would say this, and take it for what it's worth, but pretty strategic of Gorka to leave the White House when he knew that we were going on vacation. A lot of people say that they used Harvey as cover. I think it was he knew that we were on vacation, so the getting was good, like a Seder meal.
A lot of people have suggested that, especially now with a little bit of time created up and going into the next phase of the MAGA plan, that Gorka should appear on our shows. And others have been helpful enough to also recommend that he could coordinate his appearances during his wife's date night.
That would work well, yes.
He's going to Breitbart.
He's going, of course, he's going to Breitbart. And
From in exile.
And I am now able to wear the gold ties, which I know are Donald's favorites. Here he is on British Channel 4 News with Krishan Guru.
Agenda.
Well, he may have sent you a message after the event, but surely you feel very
let down by the president. I mean, after all, you were out there every day
not at all.
defending him,
No.
and he didn't lift a finger to stop you leaving the White House.
No, not at all. Not at all. This man is unstoppable. The fact that we have entrenched interests for decades in this city is just a reality that we're going to deal with.
But this is all contradictory.
No,
I mean, you're saying he's lost control and that the people around him have pushed out the great supporters like you and Steve Bannon, yet you're saying he's unstoppable. He clearly is stoppable because people like you have been pushed out.
Not at all. This is going to be an 8-year presidency, and we're only in the 8th month. I mean, are you really so facile in your understanding of politics that you think the MAGA agenda is going to take 8 months to realize?
Well, you're the one who's saying it's being undermined, and the people who are against it are in the ascendancy.
No, I'm saying that you're not listening. I said the MAGA agenda inside the building has been systematically boxed out. But that's just part of it. I mean, you do know how many people voted for the president. You do know there are 320 million people in this country. Yeah, well, you should look at the electoral college system. That's how our democracy and our republic works.
Yes. Is that the one where where's phase 2? Where does he say phase 2? We don't have that clip. Later, Gorka goes on to say that this is one phase. This is just phase 1. Phase 2 is outside of the building. And then phase 3 is still outside of the building. Phase 4, I am further away from the building.
When I am homeless in front of Penn Station
18.
talking about Hezbollah, trying to get a settlement for my wife, then you know that phase 6 has begun.
Here is Seb Gorka on Breitbart News Daily. How did he get that booking?
He's been on a couple times.
He's been on a couple times. Phase 14 is where I have a show on Breitbart Radio.
Phase 5, become a member.
Here he is. Here he is talking about why he left. You see, this is very complicated, okay? So, on one hand, he's telling the guy on Channel 4, no, we're winning. We're winning. The forces I represent are winning the MAGA fight.
Totally winning in every way, shape, and form, even if we're out of the White House.
That's inside the building. But here he is telling Matt Boyle he had to leave the White House because there was so much winning. It was making him sick. Here it is.
I want to hear it from you. I want to hear from why did you leave the White House? What exactly were the circumstances surrounding it?
Well, look, the Breitbart now has my full resignation letter to the president from last Friday. Very simply because people like myself, people like Steve Bannon came into the building because of a very clear agenda, which was the MAGA agenda, Make America Great Again. And in the last 7 months, we've seen people who really had nothing to do with MAGA, who weren't affiliated with the campaign, rise in influence inside the building. And the issues that I was brought in to deal with, national security, counterterrorism specifically, weren't heading in the right direction. Yeah. And the straw, if you will, was the speech written for the president on
Pause it for 1
Afghanistan
second. So he's saying that my MAGA portfolio was headed in the wrong direction, yet he denies on, I don't even know why I'm actually...
What are you doing?
The Nazi is inconsistent.
This is already like way more, way...
Okay, let's just go back. This is phase 15.
You're doing like a film school analysis
know,
of like daddy daycare right now. What are you doing?
Exactly. Exactly. But what was the last straw for me?
Deal with national security, counterterrorism specifically, weren't heading in the right direction. Yeah. And the straw, if you will, was the speech written for the president on Afghanistan last week, when I realized the best I can do to support the president is from the outside. When you have one of the most important national security speeches in his early tenure, not mention the key phrase, radical Islam or radical Islamic terrorism. Then
Pause it. Wait a second. The key phrase is actually 2 different phrases? Can we go back on that? How can it be a key phrase if it's actually 2 different phrases? I wonder if this opens up the palatial ice palace in the city of Zorgon.
One of the most important national security speeches in his early tenure, not mention the key phrase radical Islam or radical Islamic terrorism, then we have to take the game to the outside. So we're starting MAGA Phase 2, and people like Steve and myself have a whole slew of tools. I was going to say weapons, but let's say tools. Let's say a basket full of tools for our fellow deplorables that we can use on the outside to support the president and keep the MAGA train running on its rails.
Wow, there's a lot of metaphors there. Phase 2 of the basket that is on the rails as we keep the train going. The MAGA train. Phase 2 begins.
I won't call them weapons. I'll call them tools.
Tools.
We have
are
a basket of
tools.
weapons on a train.
I am a tool.
Oh, God.
I am the tool. I'm the box that the tools come in.
Ask me, what is Phase 3? Ask me.
Phase 4 is when my...
Ask me.
What is Phase 3?
Phase 3.
My father is not a communist.
Ask me what Phase 4 is.
What is Phase 4?
When my wife's parents finally kick the bucket and that entire inheritance just comes rolling in.
Have you ever seen a double-decker Mustang? That's Phase 5. Right?
I'm rolling
The
on
era
blade.
of the pajama boy is over.
The pajama boys, like war criminal generals and other lifetime members of the military-industrial complex who are such pussies that they won't act on the real instincts of the president as articulated at the Mar-a-Lago summit.
We came out of the Mar-a-Lago summit with very high hopes.
I still think Mar-a-Lago summit is the best thing I've ever heard. Because there are literally stories of like, yeah, I was at Goldman and I had to go to a thing at Mar-a-Lago and Trump like told me that he had like a completely unbelievable golf score, as in it was literally physically impossible that he could have that. That happened at Mar-a-Lago. And then
You mean
fast
the
forward-
you mean the Mar-a-Lago Declaration?
You mean the you mean the Mar-a-Lago Accords?
The Mar-a-Lago Declaration, which showed President Trump with a 69.
You mean when he reverse dunked on some black
four
guy,
birdies.
proving once again that basketball is also a sport of the white race? That so liberal conspiracy that LeBron and
As
Curry
clearly
and
laid
Michael
out in the
Jordan
Mar-a-Lago
are
Declaration.
better.
4 birdies. In the rain. In the rain.
I wasn't allowed in the
the only-
Afghanistan speech.
But
The only upside that I have ever found for climate change is that Mar-a-Lago is fucking toast. I'll enjoy that.
I like toast.
Okay, Gorka's not involved. Mar-a-Lago literally will be underwater.
I think you'll find that
well,
in
wait a
phase
second.
6.
Wait a second. Maybe Mar-a-Lago's in trouble, or maybe it's not. Maybe you should listen to Gorka later in that interview with Breitbart News Daily.
Phase 25?
As to the powers.
Have you ever seen
Donald
Waterworld?
I've seen this man naked.
Oh, my God.
Oh, go ahead.
It's a powerful erection.
But literally, I'm looking at the call boards now, and 3 of the callers, and we can keep up 6 at a time, want to ask specifically about Jared and Ivanka. I won't ask you specifically about them, but that's where people are going with it. McMaster's name, of course, comes up. John Kelly's name, of course, comes up. And these are all the callers are wondering, what's the deal with these guys? And again, I'm not going to twist your arm to give specifics because that'll probably compromise some of your ability to message from the outside. But that is a real concern with the base, that this wing of people who would be at home in a Hillary Clinton White House. We talked about this with John Carney, our economic and finance editor, that we're talking about Gary Cohn or Janet Yellen as the Fed chair, the next Fed chair. for the next term. If Hillary Clinton was president, we'd be talking about Gary Cohn or Janet Yellen for the next Fed chair. And the fact of the matter is that I'm actually thinking Janet Yellen could save us from Gary Cohn. I mean, it is remarkable where we are at this point in time, considering the agenda was so clearly populist, so clearly nationalist, and the cabinet, in its intention, so clearly conservative, Dr. G.
Okay, look, I can see the cold board as well. It really.
I can see it in my mind. Hold on.
Right now. Relax. It's okay.
Good.
Okay.
Good.
Why?
I'm breathing deeply.
Why? I've never met anybody, and I mean this, okay? I've never met anybody who has the accuracy of instinct that Donald J. Trump has.
Yes.
He is a preternatural. He's a supernatural instinctual actor. I mean, you take him a palette of decisions. He may not have read, the Peloponnesian Wars or the latest theory on IR, article by a peer review
or posit
journal.
Even People magazine. God.
Article by a peer review journal, but he'll look at those options, he'll choose one of them, and you know what? 98% of the time, it's the right option. He's just an instinctual actor.
He sure is.
No, he is.
I think you'll find that Jared and Ivanka will be lowered into a fish tank soon enough with piranhas.
I don't know
the man
if you
just has
remember
uncanny
the
instinct.
USFL. Everyone. Oh wait, never mind. Never mind. The New York General. Well, wait a second. Trump stakes.
Just a
supernatural ability to choose a winner.
He had this uncanny ability
Supernatural.
to pick a father who would fund his ventures and then go in and buy thousands of chips to bail him out. You don't get born. You literally are only born with instincts like that.
I mean, this is a line just to cover up that Trump literally, probably for 50 years, hasn't done the activity of research anything in his life. Like the idea that he doesn't even know how to do that. So Gorka's like, well, he doesn't need to. He
doesn't need to.
He doesn't need to. His father guaranteed the loans and the buildings for his greater part of his career.
By the way, I do have to say, I look forward to the leaks that will inevitably come out where Jared and Ivanka, particularly Ivanka, indicate that they're pretty uneasy about what they're doing with DACA.
Right, of course.
Yes, that's
Countdown.
terrible. Just so sad. They
Call
should go on vacation.
Calling from a 210 area code. Who's this?
It's John from San Antonio.
Hello, John.
Glad you're back from your vacation, Sam.
Thank you, John. Glad to be back.
The rest of us.
Okay. On Sunday morning, a video was put up on the YouTube channel called "Don't Expect Democrats to Take Congress in 2018." Just out of curiosity, I'm wondering who put up the video and when did the call take place?
I'm going to want names.
Kelly?
Well, I, of course, put up the video. However, I did not name the video. It was someone who freelances, and it sounded pretty clickbaity to me, so I let it go.
Right.
What was it a call from John?
No, it wasn't. It was a call from another listener.
From Mike.
It was yes.
It was from
yes,
Mike.
It was
from
from
Pennsylvania.
Mike, and he was just outlining the difficulties of 2018. So literally, although it is clickbaity, it is literally an accurate title because don't expect it to happen, but it could. That's all I have to say.
Okay.
Yeah.
Well, I've had some disagreements with Mike. I also think he's also one of my favorite callers.
All right.
And I know his favorite callers. Okay. And so, I just, you also referenced an article in Newsweek, also by this guy, Chris Ryota. So, didn't care for that article either. I thought it was
I think you called in and did refute it afterwards, didn't you?
I'm sorry?
I think you did call in to refute that article, too, if I remember correctly.
No, that was the other one. They did reference that article. They referenced the article by David Wasserman.
Right.
But he referenced that article. Okay. So anyway, just talking about Mike, it was, I'm pretty disturbed by this, and I've called in a lot, and I hope I'm not repeating myself too much. But I mean, the main point that he was making about the House seats was that he said that there weren't enough seats, viable seats to win the House. And I've been studying these races for months now, and I do have them, in place in order in the most flippable district, and I really strongly disagree. And, the most predictive factors historically are the generic ballot, where right now the Democrats have a 10-point lead in 538 and a 9-point lead in Real Clear Politics. Now, in 2010, when the Republicans had 63 seats, they won the generic ballot by 6.8. In 2006, when Democrats flipped to 30 seats, they won the generic ballot by 7.9. Also in 1982, Gallup won.
What do you see for like 2014?
I'm having a hard time. I'm not hearing you well.
Yeah, do you hear me now? I feel like you're breaking up a little bit.
A little bit.
All right, so in 2014, what was a year out from the election or so? Where were the Republicans on the generic ballot versus how they performed?
They were doing. Democrats are actually doing a little bit better then, but I mean, the big factor, the difference between 2013 and 2014 and this year is Trump. And
well, wait a second. Hold on, John. I feel like you're doing a little switcheroo here. On one hand, you're citing, and I'm just trying to get to the heart of the matter. But on one hand, you're saying, look, generic ballot is the most predictive. And here's my examples of where the generic ballot was predictive. And then when I ask what in 2014, which is the only off-year election, right, since we know all this redistricting took place, and then you say, well, the real difference between 2014 and now is Trump. Now, I agree with you. That is the case. But then there's no reason to cite the generic ballot as being the issue. The issue is Trump.
Right. But, I mean, the reason the generic ballot is the way it is because of Trump. I mean, there's no doubt about it. I mean, the reason all these other races were close, the 5 races that, the 4 races that Democrats didn't win but came very close, they had 18.2%, closer than the elections of 2016, is because of Trump. I mean, and also it's not just Trump. It's Republican policies that have been exposed, like health care, like tax reform, like, their infrastructure plan, which will be talked about more. That's going to be exposed as a nation plan. So all of these policies are not popular. And as this comes into place, this is, it's going to become more apparent. I don't think Trump's numbers are going to go up any. I mean, it's almost, I just can't see that. Now, I see your point, and you do make a good point that a year out.
I mean, I'm looking at a year out. Okay, now I'm looking in 2013 right now, okay? From September 9th, 2013, through every poll taken until November of 2013, November 10th of 2013, the Democrats are up in every single poll, except for, I guess there was 3 ties. They're either up by 2 and as high as 9, 6s, 8s, 3s, and this and that, and then it starts changing. So, and as you look through 20,
but I mean, that wasn't a big year, though.
Well,
that
no,
wasn't
I get.
They were never. I mean, they're up
I get
by
that,
10
but it's
right
the last
now. They're up by
off-year.
10 points.
It's the last off-year election where you had a president of the same party, and it's the only off-year election we've had since redistricting. I mean, so I'm just saying, you can't put all your eggs in that basket. That's all I'm saying.
Okay. I mean, I'm just trying to state, what has been historically accurate. throughout. I mean, yeah, as we get closer,
Except
we're going to have
for-
a more distinct.
except
we're
for
gonna have a more
2014.
distinct.
Right.
look
I agree
at
with
things. But I mean, at the same time, there's just all like you look at the YouTube comments on that, and everybody agrees with what Mike from PE does. And there's just nothing there. And I just wanted to say, like, when I'm looking at these races, there's no reason why we can't win the House back. I mean, these races they're not gerrymandered that much. I mean, if you look at, the 63 seats that were flipped in 2010 by the Republicans and the 30 seats that were flipped in 2006, that was before all the gerrymandering. I mean, they were still gerrymandering, but it wasn't as extreme. I mean, if you look at the races since what most people call extreme gerrymandering, Democrats have actually won one seat. Republicans haven't increased their lead during this extreme gerrymandering. They won 13 seats in 2014. Democrats won 8 seats in 2012, 6 seats in 2016.
But that makes sense, though, doesn't it? Because they've gerrymandered in such a way where they lock in their incumbency. They wouldn't necessarily gerrymander in a way that would in any way challenge their incumbency.
Perhaps, but I mean, one of the things that he said on the call was that things aren't going to come back. It's not going to 2008. Those days are over. That historically just isn't the case.
Well, I would agree with that.
There are tens of millions of people who aren't political mavens, who basically registered as independents, who will decide this. And historically, they always flip back and forth. I mean, this is the story of the midterms. If there's any theme of midterms in America elections, that's the theme. People change their minds consistently, and I just think that as much as I like Mike and I like his passion, and I'm glad he's a Bernie supporter, and I'll debate him about this anytime.
Well, maybe we have to do that.
I'm sorry?
This is a good idea.
Maybe we got to do that.
I think that would be great. The clash of
that
the
could
titans.
be a member bonus.
That would be a great member bonus. I like that, and I know you mean it, John, but I do like the political and Mike's a friend of mine. He's one of my favorite callers, but he's absolutely wrong.
You're being
I like
very
that.
diplomatic and collegial.
I like that. I like that.
I like that you watch the YouTube videos and put thought into it and call and let us know.
I saw the YouTube headline. I was
Appreciate
like, oh,
that.
that's a bummer.
Okay.
It's an opinion.
Well,
It's an opinion that someone called in and said.
We'll cut this one.
Sure.
We'll cut this call.
Are you afraid?
And we'll link to that
Can
one,
I just,
John. All right?
John, really quick. We got to jump, I know. But are you just concerned that if progressive media has this, that it basically will help depress turnout? Is that your main sort of deeper concern?
That's exactly what I'm concerned about. I mean, it's still early. But I mean, I see this especially among the Bernie crowd. I love them, but at the same time, there's too much energy focused on let's condemn the centrist wing. What we got to do is we got to win primaries. Brand new Congress people win primaries and put our force into winning elections. And then we'll go from there.
Yep.
And don't put so much force into state the differences in policy, but don't all this negativity that's directed towards the centrist Democrats. I think it can be overwhelming sometimes.
I think broadly speaking, there is a phenomena that you're talking about that I think is problematic, and I'm not sure the same audience hears that stuff or it makes a difference to them. But your point's well taken. I appreciate the call, John. Good to hear from you.
The problem that John is mentioning, though, is in that headline, which I'm not obsessed with the headline. I don't care. But don't expect them to win. People expected Hillary Clinton to win. It was a huge mistake.
Yep.
So
don't be overconfident is another way of stating that.
Absolutely. I mean, everyone needs to vote.
On the flip side of that, I have seen Ari Berman say, if we obsess about this sort of thing, it could actually depress turnout. If we talk about how hard it is to vote, then it actually people turn out less. I think there's
that's a different question.
Right, but isn't it sort of related?
It's somewhat related, but I think the question is, but I don't think the people who are questioning whether or not it's going to be hard for them to vote aren't looking at gerrymandering as the issue. They're looking at questions of voter ID. They're looking at questions of registration and all that confusion. I mean, that's part of the reason why you do that, is to create and so that's a slightly different subset there. But I mean. Yeah, obviously.
It's a different subset, Matt. Just accept it.
Being positive is fine.
Just
now we're going to have to do another video with Matt.
Matt. God.
I've accepted.
Calling from a 509 area code. Who's this? Where are you calling from?
Sam, this is Ronald Reagan.
Ronald Reagan. Nice to hear from you. Good luck with the AMA tonight at 8 p.m. Eastern.
Yeah. Fuck you very much.
I'm calling to talk to you about Wildcrats.
Right. Okay. Yes, I know. I've seen on Twitter that you have some issues with perhaps what I think is one of the greatest kids show ever made.
Season 1. Please don't interrupt me. Season 1, episode 2. The Wildcrat brothers decide that what kids need is to learn that crocodiles are actually not that bad, and that they're good mothers and they're really sweet animals. And there's a scene where the brothers who've shrunken down in size are literally playing in the mouth of a crocodile. Now, I don't need my daughter to go around petting rattlesnakes and playing in the mouths of crocodiles. I just think it's wildly inappropriate that you would recommend such a show.
Well, I think if you allow your daughter to watch season 3, episode 4, your daughter would find out why rattlesnakes have rattles, which is to warn predators and, frankly, all other people that they're poisonous. So maybe if you'd allow your kid to watch the full of Wildcrats, you wouldn't have such concerns.
Also, if you're letting your 18-month-old around rattlesnakes and crocodiles, then...
So if you can go ahead and clip that and put it on YouTube, that'd be great. But
I'm not putting this part on YouTube. But before you go into something serious, I would just like to say, number one, why when Ronald Reagan requests that you don't interrupt him, you actually do it?
Well, you don't specifically. Nobody else specifically says don't interrupt me. When people
I say it all the time.
Not specific to a specific comment.
Oh gosh.
And now that you've mentioned that, Kelly, Ronald Reagan, I think you'll find that it was episode number 1 of season 1, which was Mom of a Croc, not episode 2, as you have factually misstated.
Oh, burn, Sam.
Episode 2,
wow, you guys are really...
Episode 2 was, of course, Whale of a Squid.
That's true.
Yeah, it was true.
Yeah, well, I fucked up, okay?
Yeah.
So,
next time, come. You better.
If you want to come at the
prepared.
king, you best not miss.
That's right. Unlike some people I know, I'm man enough to admit when I made a mistake.
All right.
Ooh. Is
Michael,
that you're talking about me or Sam or
fine.
John or Mike? Like, who are you talking about? There's a lot of people that won't take accountability
dig on
here.
you.
Oh no, I don't think so.
Real quick,
let's talk
and then
about
I got to jump. But I wanted to talk about the announcement today that they're ending deferred action for childhood arrivals. Basically, almost everything that Jeff Sessions said is wrong. First of all, deferred action wasn't invented by Obama. It's a tool of prosecutorial discretion. It's not actually a legal status. So if you have deferred action, you're not in any type of legal status, but you have a thing that allows you to get work authorization. You're essentially just not being deported. And it's an important tool of prosecutorial discretion because the immigration problem is so overwhelming that ICE needs to, in my opinion, sort through the people who are here and establish a series of priorities. I would rather they not deport anyone, but even if you accept that, that their job is legitimate, it would make sense that they don't spend their time going around and trying to deport people who are contributing to the community and society, especially when there's so much other work to be doing. They also perpetrated the lie that DACA contributed to the so-called surge of Central American asylum seekers. Deferred action has really clear cutoff dates for applicants, so you have to establish a certain period of continuous physical presence in the United States. So if you came in 2014, you weren't going to qualify for deferred action. So that's another lie.
And we should say it may be the case. It may be the case that that smugglers or people who were, trying to facilitate people leaving from Central America lied about the people's status when they get there. But that's not going to change. If people are doing that for a profit motive, they're still going to do it. But the reality, too, is that it tracks very closely to violence, increasing violence you see in those countries.
Right. Yeah, I mean, we've got a lot of clients that came during that time, and they came asylum, not deferred action. I've talked to hundreds of people who came in that time period, and they presented themselves at the border to request asylum, which is a legal mechanism for either applying for status or for gaining entry into the United States. And those people are placed in removal proceedings to present their asylum application before a judge, and if they lose, they're deported. I've never heard of anybody presenting themselves at the border hoping to get DACA, or I've never even done a consultation with somebody who was under the impression that having entered in the last couple of years they would qualify for that. I mean, it's possible that those people exist, but I've never seen it. It's really clear that this is about white supremacy, which pretty much tracks with what we've seen in the last couple of months. And I think it's really important for people to get involved. What we're reading, Orrin Hatch had a statement yesterday, I think, where he said, we need immigration reform that, blah, 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 borders, blah, 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 high skills, blah, 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 a path forward for dreamers. Well, what the hell does that mean, a path forward?
This was a path forward.
So, right. I mean, rather than just calling and saying protect dreamers or protect DACA, we need to be really specific with our Congress right now and demand that that they legislate not just for dreamers, in my opinion, but also for their parents. And unfortunately, the narrative of the dreamer often is sort of implied in that is the criminalization and demonization of the parents or other types of immigrants.
Right. They're here by no choice of their own, right?
Right, exactly. And so when we are making these calls or going to demonstrations, I think, we have to be really careful and listen to what they're saying and demand, we want a path to citizenship. And we want it not just for dreamers, but for other immigrants too. And it's possible that at some point we'll have to compromise, and we won't get everything we want. But Democrats are sort of famous for going to the negotiating table saying, okay, well, we agree with all of your premises, and we're going to basically concede the farm before we even get to the table. And so I think that that's something for people to keep in mind as they're advocating for the immigrant community.
During the show, I've seen it floated that I guess it's Politico is suggesting that there's maybe a deal to codify DACA in legislation in return for money for Trump's wall. Who knows? But
yeah, that seems about right. I think an easy way to advocate for this would be to say, why don't we put the 2013 bill back on the table? Because that was a bill that had a lot of border spending and a lot of compromise from a leftist perspective, but it was also broader than just dreamers, and it would have included the type of reform that we actually need. I mean, yeah, that stuff's probably not going to happen. And this is just another example. This is the last thing I'll say. I mean, of why elections matter. Duh. By now, if you don't know that, then you're not paying attention. But
Hillary Clinton would have fucking shot DACA people in the face.
Yeah, right. And the other thing I want to say is, like, it's easy to get mad at Jimmy Dore and the other Jimmy, marijuana cake.
Right.
But I'm also really mad, frankly, at Hillary Clinton for even running. And, like, the reasons why people hate her might be totally unjustified. But if you are hated by more than half of the country in, like, a really deep, visceral way, even if it's totally unfounded and unfair, like, just, you don't run. Don't run.
Yeah,
And
I want to try.
I
want to try and avoid this. So I'm just going to say this: is that, like, I've seen pictures that people have taken of her book that came out. I don't know if they're legit, but if they are, it is. It's not a terribly good look.
I'm gonna get into it tonight.
I mean, those. I mean, and I would confirm that those pictures are real because they're so. The amount of delusion that is involved in some of those quotes that I read lead me to believe that there was no way she could ever have the perspective that you just suggested that she should have.
I told you, I read Shattered over the break, which was not a great break book. And I mean, the thing about it that's just... And it really I mean, it speaks to all the issues that we like to talk about that are, substantive and policy driven and from a progressive perspective. But I mean, the things that they had in that campaign also just went to, I mean, honestly, all kidding aside, like core brand proposition issues. And the way that she could not, like, they did not have the ability to even entertain that a staff, sure, of some hacks, and it was poorly organized and everything, but certainly some highly well-compensated, very, very well-compensated people who'd done it for Obama, people who had some experience, and, like, the lack of, like, any type of personal accountability or understanding of the electorate is like
weird.
Extraordinary, especially, honestly, considering the fact that she's obviously an intelligent and, like, capable person of analysis, but the Herculean level of self-delusion is extraordinary.
Parkinson's.
She's got the Parkinson's of self-reflection.
That's what I was driving at. I mean, if you look,
that's what I was driving.
There was a thing that came out of her pocket when she fell that one time, and that's
right.
The fucking Parkinson's thing.
The Parkinson's inhaler that you get.
It's the Parkinson's diabetes injector.
I want death and destruction.
Parkinson's EpiPen.
Parkinson's.
Inject yourself. Get your
All right, I gotta go.
away.
But thanks for taking my call, guys.
All right.
Bye.
Good to hear from you.
Yeah, it was that book Shattered is like, and just even the beginning planning process of, like, why are you running for president? And no one can state that answer in any type of kind of even basic rudimentary format of a campaign way. That's problematic.
Yes. Is it verified?
What?
Nothing. Go ahead.
Okay. I would just like to make a recommendation, but I also haven't seen it yet. Just letting everybody know that tonight is the first episode of season 7 of American Horror Story, which is a show that I really love. But this season...
Is it at 7 p.m. Eastern? I hope.
No. It skips both of those guys. I think it's at 10 Eastern. But the plot... I just found this out. I just watched the trailer. Look it up on YouTube. The plot this season involves, the first episode is election night. And so there are two main characters, and the reaction of Sarah Paulson, who has been in every season, who is like a liberal woman watching the election results, is simultaneously very relatable and the most hilarious thing I've ever seen. And then the Trump supporter guy apparently like puts Cheetos in a blender and rubs them all over his face and goes nuts and humps his TV. And like, anyway, it's not going to be.
Spoiler alert.
Sounds very subtle. Very subtle programming.
This is all in the spoiler. No, I think it gets
Okay.
much less. And
American
okay,
Very subtle.
sorry.
Subtle. American
I thought
Harvest.
it was funny. Sorry.
No, it's good.
Okay.
All right, people can check that out.
No, it
Busy
was good.
night of
No,
entertainment.
that's Sam. No,
I-
it sounded really good.
Sounds really
Can't
good.
you hear my enthusiasm?
I love Sarah Palin. The Republican Party is a low priority party. I'm glad Steve King is the chief advocate for cracking down on illegal immigration. According to Pew back in 2014, illegals made up less than 2% of Iowa's population. It isn't about jobs or whatever nonsense. It's about racism and the fear when you call a hotline, you have to press 2 for English. Trump's got to make a buck. Hey, guys, not to be so glib about it after the fact, but the Hurricane Harvey and chemical plant explosion incident, quite similar to the Grenfell Tower fire. Should the Democrats frame this as all this was made worse by Republicans deregulating? Of course.
No, because Bernie doesn't get it.
Thanks and congrats to Kelly. M. DeWitt, I'm surprised you didn't ask Ann Pettifor about her publishing The Green New Deal in 2008 and her work with the debt cancellation campaign Jubilee 2000. Yeah, I was not up on that. Ignatius Riley, one word about Kelly. Non-compete. Got to go back and check my documents.
Yes, all those documents that you drew up when we were hired. Actually, I think that I got the documents together and got them for me and Matt. I know I did.
Ignatius Riley. That is utterly BS rationale re Hillary. Oh, I'm not going to run because people hate me. That's why we have primaries. Run and lose or not. But don't run. Mulatto Taint. Wait, Kelly is the heir to a vast penny collection, yet she rails against trust fund babies? Not all penny collection inheritors. Epish. Damn, I'm going to miss you, Kelly. Good luck.
Thank you, everyone.
A penny for your thoughts. Every time we talk about the large group of undocumented children trying to come to our country, we need to include the fact that Honduras has the highest murder rate. Other Central American countries live under horrific conditions in large part due to our policies and practices currently over the past many decades. Indeed. I am sock. Too lean. It's toluene, doofus. Bullprog. Libertarianism seems to be falling out of fashion. You might want to put out a call to classical liberals.
That's the rebrands. And it's actually good.
Well,
because
that's what Dave Rubin.
Oh yeah, Dave Rubin, from his extensive reading of the Wikipedia entries on John Stuart Mill, has fashioned himself that. But in some ways, it's more interesting. It's more it gets to the heart of it more, because instead of like all these like circular weird arguments about like light bulbs and property and not regulating cars or something, now it's basically just like, I don't like that they teach African American studies on college campus. And I would like to be able to not have girls design video games.
Right.
It's a lot more to the point. They start up front with the slavery should be re-legalized on a state level versus getting there through some bizarre circular logic.
Where is this story? How did the stuff get mixed up in here? My packet got a little mixed up here. Trying to find that story about the Texas guys.
Oh, Bell.
I
don't think that was in your packet. I think that maybe.
No, but I'm looking for the original story.
Oh, the supplementals were not.
Here it is.
Okay.
Well, no, wait a second. Because the thing is, that's super hard for Texans. They're so proud. Such a proud people. They don't believe in taking federal money until they got to take federal money. And then they believe in it. Sometimes you got to do it. That's the way it works. Sometimes.
It's like theoretically you don't believe in committing felonies, and then you do it.
Everybody likes to have an idea in their head until it costs them a quarter.
Right.
Where the heck is that darn shoot?
What are you wanting to talk about?
Well, I had a story here of what was going on in Texas.
That literally
about
could be thousands of things.
Right. But it was the story of how Texans, and we heard this before, right? Gosh darn it, where the heck is that story?
Start throwing papers on the ground.
I know, I got too many papers here.
Time for a good old-fashioned tantrum. I just had a
I was
vacation.
saying to get them out of the way.
Really, like being gay in the 1950s.
Here it is. I found it. Here it is. Just all my papers. It's like being getting beaten by the cops.
50s. I can't get my papers together. God damn it. That's actually the only time I could see you saying anything that delusional. It's one of your morning paper. Not getting this down. It's like being gay in the 50s. You're destroying me. Hello?
All right, here's the piece. Come on. Kelly's only here for 2 more days. So. This is from the New York Times, because it's very important for the New York Times to understand the plight of not people necessarily from certain regions, but people of a certain identity, conservative identity, people who pull themselves up by their bootstraps. For Republicans who dominate Texas government, anti-Washington sentiment is more than just a red meat rhetorical flourish. It is a guiding principle. Now, though, it is Texas Republicans who will be crucial in securing and helping to administer what is likely to be one of the most ambitious and costly federal disaster relief packages, that's money, in American history, one that will almost certainly run to tens of billions of dollars. We saw this, for the life of me, I can't remember. We see this all the time, though, right? It's so hard for a lot of these states to take the large yes, as opposed to the other places where it's so easy. People are, it's one thing for people in South Carolina to take federal help. Those people like in, Maine, they'll just take it.
Oh, sure, totally.
They'll just suck it right up.
Bums. I think the first person to tell you that would be the governor of Maine.
Oh, yeah, indeed. Most notably, Senator Ted Cruz, one of Washington's most ardent proponents of fiscal restraint, has suddenly taken on a new role, promising to lead the effort to secure a generous federal aid package. In 2013, in a move his critics considered infamous, Mr. Cruz joined more than 20 of his Texas colleagues in Congress in voting against a $50.5 billion relief package for victims of Hurricane Sandy, saying that the bill was larded with pork projects unrelated to rebuilding the battered Northeast coast. Incidentally, this one, they're talking about it being $150 billion. Mr. Cruz last week continued to defend his 2013 vote, arguing that more than 2/3 of Hurricane Sandy relief bill went to non-emergency spending, an assertion that fact checkers have found to be largely untrue. But in Texas, some conservatives say Mr. Cruz's actions both then and now square with their principles of fiscal prudence and proper role of government. Michael Berry, a libertarian-leaning host of a popular Houston-based radio talk show, said that Mr. Cruz's decision on the bill was a stand on principle, but he figured it was one the senator took knowing the bill would eventually pass. That's the principle. The principle is you take a stand if you know it's going to be meaningless. Quote, it was really more of a dissent than opposition to any rebuilding, end quote, Mr. Berry said. Quote, and most people at the time knew he was going to run for president. Real principles, folks. Mr. Berry, whose home was badly flooded this week, said that Texans like him certainly believe many federal government powers to be intrusive, overblown, or unnecessary. But he argued that disaster relief was not one of them. Rather, he said, it was necessary for government function like the military or infrastructure spending that conservatives support.
White people get hit by hurricanes sometimes.
Ain't that convenient? Ain't that convenient?
You got to think about
now,
it. Got to use some logic here.
I was just curious about this Michael Berry. What kind of guy who can sort of full-throatedly deliver such level of hypocrisy and simultaneously claim that it was actually principle. It's one thing to be hypocritical. It's another to say that my principle is that hypocrisy is okay. If it suits me. Boy, this guy, he's made quite a recovery. In May of 2012, the talk show host Michael Berry won't be charged in a Montrose hit and run. Well, that's good. He must not have been involved in it whatsoever. On the first reports, he spoke out against the allegations that he was involved in this hit and run, which happened outside a gay nightclub, slamming the media and saying he has been treated like a member of Al-Qaeda. He accused media outlets of using unnamed sources to soil his name. Now, I don't think it's soiling.
To be fair, we did use a lot of unnamed sources to soil bin Laden's name.
He said, saying gay bar and conservative talk show host is too awesome for a news station to pass up because conservatives hates gays.
Or even a podcast.
We're told. The only worse thing than a celebrity who gets it too easy is one who gets it too hard, I guess. Michael Berry said.
All right.
Well, it turns out that
he said.
He was not charged in the Montrose hit and run. And it was told, they said, all I can tell you is based on the totality of the circumstances, we're not going to file the charge, said the assistant district attorney. We're always looking to do the right thing. In this particular case and point in time, charges will not be filed. So they were not filed. Apparently, though, he did, through his lawyer, say, yes, I was at the bar, which I think was controversial because he's married and has kids. So.
Not the gay part. I mean, maybe for his audience.
Yeah. So, but who knows?
That is pretty funny, though. It's just an irresistible headline. Conservative talk show host at a hit and run at a gay bar. It's like, yes, Mr. News Analyst.
There you
go.
You
are correct.
But I only bring that up only in terms of, like, he seems to have a tremendous amount of what do you call it?
Chutzpah.
Yeah. To say, like, oh, well, the principle was that he knew he wasn't going to pass. Calling from a 651 area code. Who's this? Where are you calling from?
Hello, this is A. Chris Lapaco.
Hello, A. Chris Lapaco. What's going on?
Just kidding. It's the Chris Lapaco. What's going on, everybody? Happy late Labor Day.
You too.
Thank you. By the way, Martin Luther King was a labor leader, so let's remember that when Republicans try to claim him next time, and just bring that up.
Can't do comedy on colleges anymore.
Did you guys see the pictures of Hillary's book where she takes a little bit of responsibility?
No.
Yeah, neither have I. Okay, I was watching. Oh, I got to see Andy Kindler.
Oh, how was it?
In Minnesota. Oh, it was awesome, man. He was really funny, and I wore my. I have a shirt. It's just got a picture of a wolf, and it says "wolf" because I'm like an alpha male when I wear that shirt. Anyway, I wore it there, and I told him you said hi. He loves the My Pillow guy. I didn't know that.
Andy Kindler
But the
does.
My Pillow guy, yeah. But the My Pillow guy is a MAGA Nazi.
Oh,
So
totally.
he's, part of the movement.
Oh yeah, no, I saw him at when I went to that debate in Vegas, I think it was, right? He was on that red carpet where I got into it with what's his face, the Project Veritas guy. I can't remember his
James
name.
O'Keefe.
James O'Keefe.
O'Keefe.
Yeah.
He
was like,
oh, speaking of racists and bigots, Bill Maher, he was on his show the other day complaining about like conservative white people bitching like they don't have a voice. And then he brought on a dude who wrote a whole book about how white people are not allowed to speak in the United States. So that's the last thing I want to like fire through real quick. Bill Maher's a bigot and a hypocrite. Anyway, real thing, why I called in. Here
Yeah.
it is. Do we need to get prepared to have a new underground railroad? And I'm serious about this because if this thing's coming down in 6 months and these people, the government has everybody's addresses and all that other information, like, do we need to start harboring these people and make sure that they don't get rounded up? Is that something we need to think about? Do we need to network?
I
That's
mean,
all.
I would imagine, and this is a good question, maybe for Ronald Reagan on another day, but I would imagine that some of these people, it might be easier for them to go to Canada. I mean, if you're, a 25 or 30-year-old a person who was brought here 20 years ago and you speak English and you don't speak Spanish, or you have a business, or, I mean, maybe if you still have family in Mexico, but I don't know. I imagine some people are going to choose to go to Canada. And I wonder if there's a process for that, if Canada will allow for it now.
I know there were some Somali immigrants when Trump got elected in Minnesota who ran across the border. And the thing is, what I heard in the article, maybe Ronald Reagan can correct me if I'm wrong or whatever, but when the people who tried to cross the border normally got turned away. But there were people who just straight up ran across and like swam across a river or a lake or something. And once you're in there, then you can file for asylum. So that's what I've heard, but I don't know if that's 100% accurate.
Yeah, I'm not sure, but it's a good
anyway, it's
question.
just something people need to think about. Now, unfortunately, man, but like we got to start networking and try to keep people safe. So
Yeah,
that's
I think
all.
that's true. I appreciate the call.
All right.
Bye.
Yeah.
Calling from a 367 area code. Who's this? Where are you calling from?
Hello?
Hello?
Hello, can you hear me? Oh, is this am I on air now?
Yep. Who's this?
Hello?
Hello?
Yes, this is hello, this is Norbert. I'm calling from Hungary.
Ah, how are you?
But I'm actually a fan of the show for maybe 2-3 years now. I always try to get online and call, but I always end up sleeping off. So it's actually good to talk in person. I wanted to get your opinion on some maybe few ideas. Number one, what is your opinion on this caucuses versus primary? Because Nomiki Combs from TYT was basically saying that arguing that caucuses were more democratic than primaries. So number one, what is your thought on them? I believe that caucuses are less democratic than even closed primaries. What is your thought on that?
I don't.
Do you support less caucuses or
I mean,
caucuses? And do you think that caucuses they disenfranchise voters?
I think that caucuses are less democratic. I mean, it is. I mean, certainly you don't have the same opportunity to go and spend 5, 6, 7 hours, maybe more, that's involved in that as you do to vote. I mean, I think if you have kids, I think if you have a job where you can't ask your boss for time off or something like that, it's very problematic. Also, you know, in some of these states, it may involve a couple hours of driving because they're not necessarily, you know, held as wide. But I'm not sure I understand. I mean, I think there's something about Hello?
Okay, I get your point. But if hello, can you hear me?
Yeah.
So, but if this is true, what reason does Nomiki Combs, backed by TYT, let's be clear, she's backed by Chen Hilder, what reason do they have for pushing these caucuses? What is let's get the elephant out of the room. Why do they want caucuses? She was advocating it for it so strongly on the Jimmy Dore program. Go listen to the Jimmy Dore show. She was advocating on it so strongly. So why would she want a less democratic system? Why is the reason? Tell me, Sam.
Well, I mean, I think you know
let's get the.
Well, I'm not being coy here. I mean, I think I would like to listen to her argument about it. I don't track, you know, Naomi Khan's, you know, rationale on all these things. I would imagine it is a function of Bernie having won more caucuses. And I do think that there is
exactly.
Well, but wait a second. But wait. Hold on for 1 second.
Okay.
I do think that there is a value, right, to getting the will of some of the most committed activists reflected in a primary. I mean, I do think there's value to that. I'm not sure of the logic of caucuses. I mean, I understand, you know, you might want to, there might be a sense that it diminishes the value of money in a campaign. I don't know. I mean, I just don't know her reasoning. But like I say, I think there's some problems with caucuses.
And in your opinion, do you support an open primary when anybody can come and vote? What is your opinion on that? Do you support it?
I would support loosening the qualifications that it takes. Like instead of having to be, you know, instead of you know, having to become a Democrat 6, 8, 10 months out, or even 3 months out, I would allow for maybe, you know, it changes state to state. But if you could become a Democrat like within a couple of weeks of an election, I think you know, having an open primary invites a lot of shenanigans. You know, I like it when Republicans have open primaries because Democrats or non-Democrats can go and mess with the outcomes. I mean,
it works out really well.
I mean, I think you need to. I think you need to have some constraints. I mean, really, would you want, let's say, you know, the Green Party primaries to be completely open? I don't think so. I mean, maybe from my perspective, but not if I was a member of the Green Party. And I wouldn't want that if I was a member of the Republican Party. I'm just not sure I understand.
My instinct is make it like the reason I'm very sympathetic to just the notion that the less barriers, the better, period. So the same reason that I would be wary of caucuses are the same reasons that you have is probably the same reason why I would have a pretty lax attitude
if
towards
you could register
getting access
like
to a primary.
via voting, like mail and stuff like that.
Yeah.
And, you know, but, and I think maybe there's even an argument of registering day of, if there is, if there's like sort of the technical ability to do that without a lot of problems. But
I just think it should just genuinely be easier for people to, and for what it's worth, I think that people who do sort of engage in shenanigans when they can are probably people that are already more empowered to vote.
But
and, you know,
let's also be clear that the only way you get open primaries is if the party itself decides to have open primaries. And when you do that, when you acknowledge that fact, you start to understand the rationale for parties to do things that they perceive as in their best interests, right? I mean, I mean, if I don't feel that strongly about it. I think we've seen reforms that cut both ways. So.
Okay. Another thing I wanted to touch on. Because I follow this all the progressive channels very well, and I said that it is very essential, I think, to this progressive movement to hold people like Jimmy Dore accountable, people like Roseanne de Amaro, the head of the nurses union. If you remember,
in California,
she said that she's looking to Donald Trump to make single payer health care. Did you see that statement from her that she thinks Donald Trump is going to give us single payer health care? And second of all, if you remember, Jimmy Dore said that if Hillary loses, it will unify the left and it will make Democrats take over the Senate and the House. And that is
this
not
like
what
a relative of yours from Hungary?
Well, I will say this. I think the quote that Donald Trump will help us get to single payer, the idea is that the next big push is going to be single payer. I happen to think that Bernie Sanders, is more responsible for it than Donald Trump, and that I don't think that Bernie Sanders would have gone away under a Clinton administration. If you had gotten Clinton, I think there was every reason to believe you'd also have a Democratic Senate, and Bernie Sanders be head of the banking committee right now. Look, if Jimmy Dore doesn't realize that he was wrong by now, he's never going to. And if people listen to Jimmy Dore and are, and think like, well, things are working out well, with all going according to plan, except for that one thing where the Democrats turned out they couldn't filibuster because of the moon fell into Lake Michigan. If people still feel like that, I mean, hopefully they're not able to listen to this program because it would involve them having to click on a different link, and that may be beyond their capacity or ability.
Sam across the world. Different,
but I do really appreciate your call. But I got to go. Thanks for calling. Thanks for listening.
Thanks.
Right.
Like, hi, I'm calling from Germany. Don't you think that Jimmy Dore does a bad job?
It's pretty awesome.
Hi, I'm calling from Zimbabwe. I think Jimmy Dore was wrong. Do you agree?
Calvin BW. You should invite that guy from the Good Liars that Kelly likes for her going away Friday. Sheriff Joe, please mention that Trump received $17 million to repair Mar-a-Lago after Hurricane Wilma. He used $3,000 to repair minor damage and pocketed the rest. So is this the John and Ron show? I don't know what that means. Caucuses are even less democratic, but an energized faction, even without big money backers, can actually get more delegates placed. Yeah, indeed. Agnes, poaching work and workers is just disturbing, frankly, and unethical. If that's not what happened, please share. No, nobody poached. No, that is not what happened. Kelly was not poached.
No, as that was explained earlier, of her own free will, she wanted a boss with, say, a certain level of, how do you say, intelligence or talent or basic organizational capacity.
Oh my gosh. Sam is one of my favorite people.
Who's Sam?
That I've ever met.
I know Samantha.
So it's definitely not the case that I think.
All right, now it's getting uncomfortable in the other way.
All you do is scream over me. Gosh.
Jorge the bad hombre. Sammy, today is another bad... All right, let me read this. Sammy, today is another bad day. I have two cousins under DACA studying to be engineers. They were brought when they were 2 years old. Neither has been to Mexico since. Thanks for reporting on this today. Look forward to Ronald Reagan's show today, and I guess the BS show too. Joseph Paulin, let us never forget that the main reason Trump is in the White House running because everyone lies right now is because Hillary Clinton used the mainstream media to promote extreme far-right candidates like Trump, Cruz, and Carson, as revealed in the Pied Piper. In my opinion, the blame for DACA should also fall on Hillary Clinton for running for president in 2016. Oh, this guy's serious, though. And stealing with the nomination from Bernie Sanders. We are done with neoliberal shills like the Clintons and Kamala Harris being
There are
forced out.
only people who listen. I realize that interact with this show are the only people on the planet that can get me to feel sympathetic to Hillary Clinton. When I'm in like normal
Of today,
universe,
of all
I am
days.
like so disdainful. of
Yeah,
her.
exactly.
And then people
It's
call in
bizarre.
about her. I'm just like, what the fuck is your problem?
Yeah,
Hillary
you're
Clinton?
weird. Like, settle down.
Social justice pacifists. You should have the Arpaio sued New York Times reporter as a guest. Pretty sure Phase 3 in Gorka's plan concerns a giant laser in space, illicit demands, and Gorka wearing a fabulous black cape. Jez Garjley, Kelly, would please make sure the Young Turks stop using that offensive term, cuck. Coal addict. I don't know if you listen to too much bullshit, TMBS, Sam, but I think you'll enjoy the pyramid segment. In the sticks. Boy, those Bernie brothers and Young Turks sure show those DACA kids, huh? I hope they choke on their purity votes who said Democrats need to learn. Yeah, F all those guys who think voting for Hillary was dumb. F all those guys. Also,
Bernie brothers.
also, Bernie bros. Also, don't like your high insurance rates? Harvey will raise rates 20% on home and auto renewals. If Irma hits land, we could see a total collapse of many insurance markets. Reinsurance is already getting more and more expensive. A simple man. Who's behind the decision to attack DACA? Sessions doesn't have much weight, and Bannon is gone. Well, I mean, they've been working on this. Seth Kevin, Gorka going to TYT. Terry Malik, I'll miss Kelly. She's wrong about my movie Song to Song. It's a sack of shit, though. Attorney Andrew, first, I want to say congrats to Kelly for a new position at TYT. Second, Kelly, please institute a new rule at TYT. If they're going to make claims about what the law is, they should first call a working attorney who may specialize in that law. Last week, they did a whole segment on how Arpaio could legally not receive a pardon. This was wrong and pretty clearly so. I'm sure such problems will not happen with you in the building. Third, tell Jordan Chariton to stop posting pictures of himself running. Please, please.
I just like to clarify to everyone that I didn't get hired to run TYT.
Could you also?
I'm just
yeah,
working
I'd
on a
also like you
vertical.
to change Jank's wardrobe and just readjust
What is
the
with
panel.
the whole T-shirt and sport coat thing?
Yeah,
I just
maybe
sort
you
of
could
feel
just
like,
correct that as well.
honestly, I mean, and I think you may. I don't know if you do this. You do this too, right?
A
T-shirt.
sport coat and T-shirt? No, I do not. If I'm wearing a jacket,
I
I'm wearing
actually-
a proper
I
collared
have to
shirt
say-
with it.
That's what you do.
No, I have to say that I do like the T-shirt and jacket sometimes on some people,
Lord.
and I think that you can do it, Michael. Actually, you can
Yes.
pull it off.
Right.
You can't. You can't, Sam.
I can't because I mean the.
It doesn't look right. I don't know why.
It would actually be really funny.
The
well, you don't really wear.
We should do a
like
centrist radio
Jank
show.
style,
But
like
he just doesn't really wear T-shirts.
right.
We
And
should
when
do
he-
a centrist
yeah.
episode where Sam dresses like that. I don't know why it would be a centrist thing.
I think
just
it
seems
would
like
look fine on
be
Matt
funny.
probably because he's youthful.
The
wears
reason why it wouldn't look
T-shirts.
right on me is because I would exude
Certain je ne sais quoi.
This is wrong.
It's a certain
You just
sense
don't
of-
really
Like a pet in an
wear
outfit.
T-shirts.
I
That's
didn't
not
know
your
that. I'm
jam.
sorry. I don't mean to be. I'm
Okay,
sorry.
I'm sorry that you don't wear T-shirts here. I don't
right.
like.
I never at work.
Is
It's
it
rude.
true? Is
I
it
mean,
true? Is it true?
It's incredibly rude.
Is
rude.
it true that Jordan Chariton really posts pictures of himself?
I have
running?
no idea.
Hi, this is Jordan Chariton. I've just
Attorney-
finished the run.
Attorney Andrew wanted to close out the IM by saying people should, if they can, donate to the following organizations for Harvey relief: the Houston Food Bank, Portlight, which aids the disabled, Coalition for the Homeless of Houston, and the Texas Diaper Bank. Where'd you get those? Because those are the ones that I donated to. Don't donate to the Red Cross. Just kidding about that being my last IM. I must always end on a petty. Michael, if you don't open the show with Gawani's Pony, what are you even doing? What are we even doing here? Blackjack Leo, new Ms. Matt X. That's how to say new Ms. Matt X. Ah, okay.
Instead of new mystic.
JGM, I swear to God, Kelly, if in 6 months you're screaming, go into Sank's impression, wolf-pack.com, we're going to have a major problem. Ilmic, congratulations, Kelly. Happy for you, but amazingly, I feel sad now. Your presence here has made this show great and actually better than I thought it could be. Kelly, you'll be sorely missed. Producer Lauren.
Amazingly, I'm sad.
Yay, Kelly. Congrats on getting out of that man cave. I suppose Sam is blackmailing you into getting dirt on Jimmy Dore while you had TYT. Please go ally with Ron Placone.
Kelly's a sleeper cell.
Ron Placone came into the studio one time.
When?
I haven't heard about that guy. He's
remember that guy.
I don't know if he's still on the TYT network. Oh, wait a second. Ron Placone is. Wait a second. He works with Jimmy Dore. Maybe that's where it was. There was another guy who came by. I can't remember. Historic Larry, a basket of weapons on the train? Yes, it's Murder on the Maggot Express. Finally, American Horror Story is getting into politics. That's the type of escapism all their fans have been waiting for. Sigh. Dark Matter. Dark Matter. In your best robotic voice, please. SJW 5000 Tactical HUD Commands to Flight MAGA Phase 2. Alert, trigger warning. Trust fund baby detected. Crowd pigmentation below 30%. Torch extinguisher deployed. Cultural appropriator neutralized. Fry 'em like bacon. Safe space secured. Means of production acquired.
That was ridiculous because below 30%, I don't think so. I think the alarm goes off at below 95%.
Dolink, you going to mention Joel Osteen waiting to be asked to open church to evacuees while a mosque opened early? We're never asked. Attorney Gabao, Kelly, best of luck. We'll miss you as much as what his name from cafe.com. And that HuffPost guy, too. Chris Burdick, Phase 17, my arms are surgically removed and replaced with cybernetic tentacles terminating in poison tips. Phase 23, my beard is possessed by the ghost of Jesse Helms. One more Nick. Really surprised Kelly didn't leave during Irma. What do you guys even care about ratings? Anyways, glad we have someone on the inside of TYT. I predict Dore will be taken out by November. Lost. Is it true that Dems will not be running a candidate or trying to win in the Alabama Senate race? It seems to me that if Dems are a national party, they should try and win that race, especially if Roy Moore is the Republican candidate. I think there's a Dem, but I didn't see that. Censor sweep. A correction, sir. Rattlesnakes are not poisonous. They are venomous. Ipso facto QED. In all seriousness, though, Mr. Raygun's podcast is fantastic. Wooden computers. Kelly, best of luck, but we will all miss you. Calling from an 832 area code. I just got 5 more minutes, folks, then we'll wrap it up. A long one today. Calling from 832. Who's this? Where are you calling from? 832. 832. 832. Calling from a 478 area code. Who's this? Where are you calling from?
Hey, Sam. This is Jeff in Georgia. How you doing today?
Good. How you doing, Jeff?
Hey, man. I'm doing good. You got time for a quick joke?
Yep.
Hey, I just want to let y'all know at the recent meeting of the League of Extraordinary Progressive Southern Gentlemen, we were pleased to host Nation of Islam Obama to raise money for hurricane relief. He did a lot of trash talking on Jeff Sessions, and I know we don't believe in everything together, but we were happy to host another viewpoint and pay him a tidy sum. So, Nation of Islam Obama, if you're there, I would like to say thank you for attending the last.
Allahu Akbar.
Thanks, man. Hey, 2 quick things, real quick. I'm not going to say his name, but Ronald Reagan clearly listened to the latest episode of the Distant Peasant podcast, and if you want to go check that out, you can on my YouTube channel. It's a little bit amateurish, but I will tell you that Joseph Ballin hates that video. If that's a clue for you.
Okay. Got it.
The second thing I wanted to say is on DACA. Tie things together. This whole scheme by the Trump to put this in the lap of congressional Republicans. I don't know what his motivations are, but I'm sure I know what the motivations of the conservative movement are, which is to make this problem worse, right? To make the law ridiculous, to make it unenforceable, to make disorder happen, because they don't want government to keep order. They want people desperate and afraid. That depresses turnout, and that keeps them in power.
Yeah.
I would urge people not to give up on the electoral process yet. If it comes to the point where we got to put bodies in the street, the left's probably going to lose.
Well, I mean,
anyway, I appreciate the show, man.
All right, thanks. I appreciate.
Stop being a little pussy. We'll take it to the streets.
Hey, I know you guys got to go.
What's the matter? What, you got a cuticle to take care of? You can't go on the streets?
Calling from a 951 area code. Who's this? Where are you calling from?
Hi, this is David from Riverside. Just wanted to say I know everyone's bummed out about DACA, but I will remind you, this is a video you uploaded in 2014. I'm sure you've seen it because it's on your channel still. When the two dreamers, Erica Andiola and Cesar Vargas, confronted Steve King at a fundraiser. And that's like the type of thing I think we need to see now.
Yeah.
I mean, if people are wondering what do we do now, the power of that action is that she is confronting probably one of the most racist people in Congress and saying, you really want to end DACA? Go ahead, rip up my card. Go and do it. And that coward wouldn't do it. And that is a powerful image. And that is like kind of along the lines, I think, when I'm reading, Martin Luther King, and he wrote in his letter from Birmingham jail about the need to arouse the conscience of this nation. I think that's kind of what we need right now.
Yeah, I mean, I agree with you. There has to be an incredible amount of pressure applied to the Republicans.
Yeah, no, I'm not saying people need to do. I mean, obviously, I'm not in a position to ask someone to put their life on the line like that. But just I applaud what she did. She is so brave for doing that. I follow her activism and stuff. I mean, she's just wonderful, and I just would like to see more of that. But anyway, I just wanted to get to Kelly. I really appreciate your contribution to the show. I think just talking to a lot of people in the chat room, I think they all agreed that you're pretty much like the conscience of the show, and we're definitely going to miss that.
Thank you. I agree as well.
Yeah.
Thanks.
And I would definitely want to say, because my favorite segment that you did were the pup date. I think if you can logistically work this out, I would like you to bring Edie to the office, and hopefully you haven't groomed her in a while, and you can sit on Sam's chair. You could do that. If you can't, I understand.
Yeah, I'm sorry. That's not going to work out. You broke up at the end there.
Pup dates will still be available via Twitter.
Sounded like you had an accent when you said that. Calling from a 610 area code. Pop dates will be available through Twitter.
I was just excited.
Mike.
Pennsylvania.
Mike from Pennsylvania. Oh, the Empire Strikes Back.
Yeah.
You obviously heard
here.
John from San Antonio did not appreciate.
Oh, yeah, Mike doesn't know what the fuck he's talking about.
Actually, I originally called to say, Kelly, I'm going to miss you. You have a unique perspective, both pro-trust fund baby and pro-Antifa, that the show is definitely going to miss.
Thanks.
And
I was gonna say I'm gonna miss you too, but now I'm not sure.
Whoa.
I'll half miss you.
Way to evade the substance by getting into a Kelly riff, you fucking pussy. Why don't you confront the issues?
and then I'll get into it if you guys want me to, but it's like 3.
We're pretty much out of time.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah, but since you opened that can of worms, just quickly, if you recall when I predicted the British election, I was using data for that, and that was something that everybody else was getting wrong. No, I'm just kidding. But no, like when he says that generic ballot is the most important thing, it's not. The most important thing is the number of votes in districts. I'm trying not to be a dick, but you have to win the individual seats. And a great example of that is in 2012, the Democrats won the generic ballot by 2 million votes.
Right.
And yet they remained in a record-breaking minority. And that was the first time that had happened in 80 years.
Right.
So that was the post-2010 gerrymander. Now, if they're up by 10 points in the generic ballot and the election is held today, they are about a coin flip to win the House. So I'm not saying it's impossible. I'm saying that if you actually look at the districts, for example, in Michigan, Pennsylvania, Virginia, and you go district by district, you'll see there's not very many swing districts. And the ones that are swing are R+5s.
All right. Well, Michael, let me do this.
District.
Let's do this.
Anyway,
listen, we are going to have.
If you want to debate me,
we are going to have a debate,
But-
and it's not. Listen, when we have you guys together, and we're going to do this in the next. We're going to do this maybe closer to November, so we can be a year out, right? Maybe we'll do it in a month or so. But what you'll do is you'll both come with your data sets, and it will be one of those debates where I think 20 people will be super psyched to see this. I will be one of them.
Yeah, exactly.
But there's value in that because I can assure you that the other 19 people will
really enjoy it.
Well, we'll really enjoy it, and I think we'll be important people to hear the analysis because we will.
But just one request from John, if I could, if he could make a prediction and tell me what his thinking is like. He thinks they're going to win by 5 seats, by 10 seats, based upon this generic ballot. It's going to result in this district flipping, and this incumbent is vulnerable, and et cetera, It would help me see his perspective a little better.
Right. I see.
Here in Pennsylvania.
Anytime, any place, name it.
There are not any swing seats.
Lay on your fucking back.
What swing seats are you talking about?
Right.
I got swing seats. Just,
right.
Time and place.
Let's go.
A lot of talk, not much action.
Place, baby. All right, guys.
All right. Thanks, Carl, Michael.
Get out of there.
I love
Way
both of
overtime.
you guys,
See
just
ya.
to be clear. Two of my favorite
we've had
callers. All right,
people
let's get out of here.
All right. Let me take. I'm sorry, callers. We just don't have any more time. I know there's a bunch of people who have been hanging on for a long time. Got to bear with us. I'm sorry. 3 more IMs. Wayne Lynch. Ronald Reagan is off his nut. The Best Kids show is Paw Patrol. It's a complete ripoff of the 80s classic Mask with animals. It's a win-win for me. I got news for you. I've been down Paw Patrol lane, and Wildcrats is better. Real J Word. I've lived in Phoenix all my life. I will say before I knew about racism, I was aware that Joe Arpaio was despicable. In elementary school, I learned that he was using pink underwear as a way to use gay shaming as a deterrent to crime. Trump says the people of Arizona support Arpaio. Fake news. And the final IM of the day. DZ, good to hear Kelly has found a new employer to talk over her. Congrats on making MR all male again. Very 2017 of you. All right, folks. See you tomorrow.
It might take all the strength I got to get to where I want, but I know somehow I'm gonna get there. I wasn't looking when I just got caught between the truth and the lie.